Yeah, better. So we've got 3 people headed up there. 4 years. Yeah, 4 years. Been on the commission.
Sergeant. Minutes turn. Sheriff's about 4 years. I guess you could do it. So, must be for a minute, 4 years.
I'm not going to argue.
So, 4 years. Yes. Yeah, no, he's got a more serious one. Yeah. Surrey Police Department.
Just briefly, he's a member of the shot fund. I don't really know. I'm at a party this week too. Chatting This is wishy one. Good. How are you? Jim Bull.
My last meeting, outgoing executive.
Oh.
So welcome.
He's a legend. We're going to have a statue in front of the building.
We'll see. It's only been 15 years.
Is that it?
Check 1 2. Mic check 1 2 3 4. Check 1 2. Mic check 1 2 3 4.
Whatever. You know, wherever we're at.
Check 1 2 3 4.
Yeah, we will.
Check 1 2. Mic check 2 3 4. Check 1 2. Check 1 2 3 4. Check. Check 1 2 3 4.
Yeah.
Check 1 2 3 4. Check 1 2 3 4. Check 1 2 3 4. Mic check 1 2 3 4. Check 1 2 3 4. It was literally just working 2 minutes ago.
Barely.
Check 1 2 3 4. Mic check 1 2 3 4. Check 1 2 3 4. Check 1 2. Mic check 1 2 3 4. Is it showing up on Zoom?
Well, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
How are you?
Good to see
You don't have to get
Happy
up.
New
It's
Year.
okay.
Mr. Mayor, good to see you, sir. Maybe I've bumped into you once or twice.
Check 1 2 3 4.
I just got back from Tallahassee. It was a
Check
good
1 2 3 4.
Yes, it
We're going
was.
up, obviously, with Manatee County days. Should be interesting. Okay, good.
It's near the end.
Good. No, that's a good thing.
Really?
Here, what time is it? It is time. We have a quorum yet? 1, 2, 3, 4. 8, 9.
Were you doing this? Camera.
I think she will be.
Yeah.
Was 9 a quorum? We have 9 then, so.
I want that in my face. Oh, thank you, I appreciate
Do
that.
you have any?
Yes.
Yeah. I'd like to know that myself, 'cause that would be my shot.
Right here.
Oh, my wife. Thank you. We got heating, cooling, and air conditioning coming today. And she said, come between 2 and 5. How about midday?
Trying, staying busy. You, it's always fun. Manatee County is fun. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the MPO board meeting on January 26, 2026. Yeah, it is.
Sure.
Yep. All right. So
It takes leadership, and you are the leaders in this community that pick priorities, what's to be funded, what's their importance. I'm here to help you in any way that we can. If you need information of why trails are a good investment for your community, whether it's safety or economic development, for mental health, physical health, any of it. And I want to give a plug to Commissioner Cruz. Unfortunately, he's not here today, but prior to the end of the year last year, he wrote a really good article that talked about transportation and where we need to go as a community, and trails were a very important part of that. So if you didn't read his article, please do. I can get it to you, or obviously he can. And let's start thinking about trails in 2026. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And we have Glenn Compton, please.
Good morning. My name is Glenn Compton. I'm here on my own behalf. I want to draw attention to a dangerous situation on US 41 and Oscar Shear State Park entrance. It's a very popular place, so you have a lot of pedestrian access coming from the south, going to the park on bicycles and walking on 41. There's no sidewalk there because the developments south of Oscar Shear are older developments, and there wasn't any requirement for sidewalks. So you're pretty much forced to use the bicycle lane that is, on US 41. Now, this represents the length, the width of the bicycle lane that you have on the south side of the South Creek Bridge. It's 2 feet wide. On this side, you have a concrete bridge, and on this side, you have a 55-mile-per-hour speed limit, and it is creating a very dangerous situation. And I want to emphasize to you that this is an extremely popular section of US 41 for pedestrians, because what bicyclists are doing is they're using the park to access the Legacy Trail. The section of US 41 there is being remilled right now by FDOT. I've contacted them. I suggested that if you could just make the bicycle lane a little bit wider, that would help. And so that's why I'm here. I'm hoping that MPO can, make a suggestion that during the remilling, that you could re-engineer it a little bit, make it a little bit wider and a little bit safer. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hutchinson, we have no other public comment, but I would open it up to the board to comment on anything. And I know Wayne Gaither's here with DOT today, so he was writing things down, heard that. And I would like to say we had another fatality on Manatee Avenue this past couple weeks ago, but unfortunately, the person did pass, but they were in the mid-block. We've got to get our pedestrians and bicyclists to make sure that they're going in the crosswalks, they're going in the places, because when you look at most of the accidents, or a lot of the accidents, I don't want to say most, but a lot of the accidents are preventable if they're in crosswalks or on the proper places. So any other board members, any comments to that? Yes, sir, Mr. Hutchinson.
I will note that we did convey the written with photos email for Mr. Compton to FDOT. There is a resurfacing project upcoming where there may be an opportunity to widen the bike lane portion in that area, or come up with some other, I will say, fix for that situation. And it's a short but important piece of US 41, and we see the difficulty in retrofitting, especially our main system.
Well, I know we have a lot of bridges, and one's coming up in Manatee County, Cortez Bridge, that is going to be a lot more biker, walker friendly. Now it's just getting the rest of the grid, and then Manatee Avenue will be done, and then hopefully one day our beloved DeSoto Bridge will be the same thing.
You have a few more houses going in on the east side of the bridge too.
Right. Yes, yeah. All right, moving forward, we have agenda item number 4, the Public Transportation Task Force. First up is Manatee County. Do we have Katie Sheffer here? Good morning.
Good morning. All right, just a few updates for you. All right, our monthly ridership has sustained over the last few years, just over 150,000 for the month of December and the month of November. October, you could see was over 175,000, significant increase from 2024. Obviously, we had our, active hurricane season that year. Our Veterans on Demand service, we've done over 2,200 trips since January 2025. This is a free service for our veterans to take medical trips here in Manatee County. And we have seen a significant increase over the last few months. Our Longboat Key service, we're averaging about 500 trips per month. The average cost is anywhere from $3 to $6 for riders and $29.68 for the county. Our ferry, we still have 2 ferries operating, hopefully a third here sometime in the spring. We've exceeded 53,000 trips for the month, or for the year of 2025, and hopefully that you'll see a significant increase once we have that third vessel up and running. And that is our quick update.
Any questions?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Ron.
Thank you, sir. I will tell you that we are just beyond pleased on how the Gulf Island ferries are working. If you haven't used them yet, it's a great opportunity to get off the road and get on a boat and travel out to the barrier islands. It's a great service, and we're looking forward when our new ship comes in, our new boat comes in. It'll be basically a covered ferry that will be able to hold more people and will allow us to, even in climate weather, to be able to take people back and forth from the mainland to the barrier islands. Our on-demand service continues, but our veterans continues to increase. As we know that Manatee County has about 42,000 veterans, and this service it's a great service for our veterans, and we ask them that if you're a veteran that needs to go somewhere, please use this service. Excuse me, please use this service. It's free to you. They'll take you doctor's trips and stuff like that. It's not to go out to lunch or go out to dinner on or anything like that, because we've had those calls, but it is for doctor's trips and go to the pharmacy and things like that and get basic needs. But our transit department continues to do a great job, and we're just really pleased how both services are working out. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Ron. Yes, sir, Commissioner Chair Sadiq.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to iterate some of those comments, and then also thank Sarasota County for the partnership with Breeze on the Route 99. It's one of our most popular routes down the spine of our community on 41. Our board is still looking at hearing a report from MCAT on changes to the routes so that we can consider more frequent bus service and expanding throughout the urban corridor. So there's no surprises with Dave and MCAT, but we've had a lot of conversations around increasing frequency, which increases ridership. So our board is still yet to hear a plan, but at some point in the spring, we should hear more and come back to the MPO with an update on that. Just want to thank Sarasota County, though, because we rely on that partnership.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I think Mayor Chappie would probably echo this, and I'm pretty consistent since I live looking down at the launch area in Bradenton, where yesterday the ferry didn't run, and I'm sure Mayor Chappie would notice on Saturday that ferry was packed, and since he's the only landing point right now in Bradenton Beach, they probably were a lot busier at their businesses on Saturday than unfortunately yesterday because of the wind. But the new boat, which is they're just getting the trial and the docks ready, would have run yesterday, and it's very important to keep that going. And I say that to say this: as soon as we can get some of the other stuff done, I challenge our Sarasota neighbors to try to figure out how we make that ferry have 5, 6, 7 stops from Palmetto to Bradenton to the islands to Sarasota. And I think it's something that has proven taken thousands of cars off the road. And it may not seem like a lot, but add those thousands of cars over all these trips during the time, and it makes a difference. And also, it's just fun. I think it'd be cool to be able to go from Palmetto, Bradenton area all the way to the islands, to St. Armand Circle, to downtown Sarasota without ever getting in a car, and back and forth. And it's the infrastructure part of it is already started. So now Sarasota would have an easier way to see the proving it with all of our neighbors to the south. So thank you, I appreciate it.
Mr. Chair, I think
Yes, sir.
I think the MPO board should do a field trip
Yeah, on it. That's definitely, that would be
You're
a,
right on the new ship.
yep.
Brian's taking notes.
You're taking
Yes,
it, so,
absolutely.
good. And Mr. Hutchinson.
At the Island Transportation Planning Organization Board meeting, which was actually held last week, the city of Anna Maria reported that they're in the process of getting the dock replaced, and they are already in discussions with the Tourist Development Council and Manatee County regarding what can be done to provide for appropriate facilities so that they'll be able to dock the ferry up in Anna Maria.
Right.
So that's good news.
No, it's definitely was a great idea for 30, 40 years, and thank goodness that, several years ago, Manatee County through the TDC and all the cities bought in Manatee County. All right, moving up, next we have Sarasota County Breeze Transit Quarterly Report. Jane Grogg from Sarasota County Breeze will present. Thank you, good morning.
Good morning, Jane Grogg, Director of Transit for Breeze. With me also this morning is Tamara Shells, our new Planning and Performance Manager. She'll be giving the TDP update as soon as I finish the quarterly update. I will be brief. You have a very long agenda today. I just want to touch on our total ridership, showing an increase over the previous 2 years. Very encouraged by that, as well as our stacked demonstration of ridership that includes the fixed route service on the bottom, our on-demand service, and our Breeze Plus service as well. The Sarasota County Commission was very busy in November, December with several items related to transit. I'll just touch on a few key highlights. Very pleased to complete an interlocal agreement with our friends and partners at the City of Sarasota for the Bay Runner service. So Breeze is now managing that service, and you can find those routes within our Breeze Rider app. Additionally, there were some grant agreements and our annual required productivity and performance measures report. And some of our exciting purchases were related to our scheduling and planning software that will enable us to commingle our on-demand and our paratransit services. And so we're moving forward to that transition to a single provider for both of those services, with the intent of gaining some efficiencies in the cost of the delivery of those two services under a single service. Also excited about our mobile fare payment software. We have entered into an agreement with Token Transit, and we're working on launching that for our bus riders to use and expand that into our other services in the future. So with that, I will wrap that so you can move on to your TDP annual update.
All right, any questions before we move to, okay, thank you very much. We'll go to Michelle's. Welcome.
Hi, good morning, thank you. So today I am here to provide a summary of our annual update to our transit development plan. The annual update contains a brief overview of the transit activity during the past year, as well as highlighting some trends in ridership and any service changes that occurred during that past year. We also have an updated 10-year financial plan and status updates for all of our priority projects that were identified in the major update, and a summary of some of the coordination activities that we have engaged with the MPO on. So since the completion of the major update, we have, Route 99 has become fully fare-free, and this is contingent upon the FDOT program or FDOT funding. And this occurred on July 1st. And also on July 1st, we implemented a new on-demand fare structure. We looked at some of the trends in ridership during the last few fiscal years. And as kind of noted previously, we experienced some growth in fiscal year 2024, but due to a lot of the hurricane and storm activities late in that year and early fiscal year 2025, some of the ridership numbers went down for fiscal year 2025, but we have been seeing increases. And of course, our on-demand service still continues to grow. We updated the 10-year operating capital program, so this includes updated financial tables for the 10-year planning period, which is 2026 to 2035. And we updated statuses on all of the priority projects. The major update identified 15 priority projects that we wanted to look at during this planning period. And this just highlights a few of those. Jane had previously mentioned the progress that we made with the Bay Runner trolley transition and also the mobile fare payment system. One of the other priority projects we identified was the Siesta Key shelter improvement, and that has gone through county permitting process and expecting to begin construction in late April following peak season. And transit signal prioritization, a pilot project that we're working with FDOT. We have installed equipment on our buses, and we are currently running some tests to evaluate the equipment. So in the major update, we identified a coordination program, and within that program, we set aside some goals, and one of those was to meet quarterly with the MPO. And we have scheduled those meetings and started conducting those meetings. And we worked with the MPO in looking at the scope for their upcoming regional transit feasibility study, and looking forward to continuing working with them on that project. And we also participated in several plan reviews during that time period as well. So the annual update to our transit development plan was seen by our board in December. And following today's summary that we're sharing with you, we will then be able to send it to the Florida Department of Transportation for their approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one quick question for you on your transit signal prioritization. It's something we're looking at on the Manatee side, but mainly with boxes at this, starting with the boxes at the signals. Where are you looking to trial that out, or doing that right now?
That is just on US 41.
Oh, 41? Okay. Got it. I was just curious if it was the same one. I was tracking that particular project too. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank our staff. You guys do, your data is like amazing. It's been very beneficial for us to go through the level of efficiencies that you have found for our routes to try to make sure that we are not only expediting them, but we are using them in the areas that get the most service and the most use. And so it really helps us to be able to then find those areas, do anything we can to enhance them as we move through that ever-changing growth of population here, there, and everywhere throughout our counties. And you've also taken on several partnerships with both municipalities and our neighboring counties. So I want to say thank you for all the hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do have one question or comment. You might not have any information now because it's only been since July 1. But the Route 99 that's in Manatee County, it's been free for a couple of years because all of it's free in Manatee County. Have you noticed any statistics that show one way or the other that there's more riders now coming into Sarasota County or leaving Sarasota County, coming to Manatee County?
We have been tracking the ridership on the route since implementation of the fare free, and our ridership has increased. We've noticed steady increases every month since that implementation.
So you don't really probably keep track of how many people go from Manatee County to Sarasota and then back, or do we know if it's Manatee or Sarasota residents going back and forth?
Right now, we don't have that data.
All right.
We are currently conducting a passenger mile sampling survey, so we may be able to pull some of that kind of origin destination information from that.
And if it's work-related or just pleasure-related, it would be interesting to see that who is actually riding back and forth, or is it one way more than from Manatee to Sarasota or Sarasota to Manatee? That would be interesting, I think, to see. And obviously, there's a lot of other issues that could play into that to help.
We do periodically conduct onboard passenger surveys, and some of that information can be pulled from that.
All right, thank you. Yes, sir, Mr. Hutchinson.
Yeah, I would add that the Transit Signal Prioritization Project was an MPO priority that we've worked for several years with both Breeze and MCAT and the Florida Department of Transportation to use the MPO funding to conduct this as a pilot project so that it could serve, if successful, as a model for improving transit and reducing congestion in other corridors as well. And Ryan's got lots of details on that if you need that or want that. We also have upcoming that you'll hear about in our strategic plan, regional transit study in the next year that will be looking into the types of issues that you just asked about as far as the origins and destinations.
All right, thank you. Next, we'll move on to reports, and we have Florida Department of Transportation, Wayne Gaither in for today, for District 1.
First, Secretary Driggers offers his apologies. He was pulled away late last night in call of duty for addressing some certain FDOT-related projects concerning District 1. So he's hard at work taking care of the district right now. But one of the things that we discussed was to have a quick conversation on earmarks and the earmark process that goes through. This is similar information that I've shared in past years as far as earmarks go. But we do have some more additional board members, some new board members. Pursuing a earmark is certainly the choice of the local municipalities or counties as they're pursuing projects that come through. But what happens through the process, the legislative process, is you are in essence circumventing the work that you do with the MPO and the establishment of the priority projects that are in place. So if a project is approved through the earmark process, it takes priority over the existing list of priority projects that we are currently working on. We do make adjustments at that point to our work program, and then we end up having to work that project into the existing budget. Generally speaking, what happens with a earmark is there is no additional funds that come in. Money comes from one of two places. One is from the Transportation Trust Fund, in which case you're competing with, or your priority projects are competing then for the funding for your earmark projects. Or two, they come from the general revenue. If you can get that box checked, that the funding comes from the general revenue, that is additional funding that comes into the area. That does not go into competition with the list of priority projects or the priorities for your region through the Metropolitan Planning Organization. Easier way to handle those kind of projects. It also does not impact our budget, which is the authority that allows us to spend the funding that we have currently available to us. The other is a topic that's been out for quite a bit for discussion. It's been sent out to the MPOs, and it has to do with the new policy that the Florida Department of Transportation has come up with. There have been a couple steps that have been taken to try and enhance and make more efficient the prioritization of projects and to make sure that we get projects across the finish line, basically completed. One of which was to put some restrictions, timeline constrictions on the PD&E, project development and environmental studies that are done. We're wanting to make those as best as possible, as concise as we can. What we've noticed is that during the PD&E process, new ideas pop up, which impacts the scope of the overall study. Scope gets changed, then the overall study gets changed, and then the timeline of the study gets extended. Our intent is to really try to work with the locals as best we can to ensure that when we go after a PD&E, we've got the ability to go after exactly what you're looking for, and that we're not having issues with scope creep that come in. And another policy that's come into place has to do with the timeline for having a project get into construction. The policy identifies an 8-year window. Again, the intent is to make sure that we are pursuing projects in a timely fashion, that we can basically make the most of the work that's been done and the finances that are available to get a project across the finish line, which is through completion. We have had a history, unfortunately, of having projects that have exceeded the normal timelines that were established for a project. Generally speaking, it's about an 8-year window, 10-year window to move a project across. There will be some special cases that need to be discussed for some larger projects that happen. We're ready to have those discussions with the locals and the metropolitan planning organizations specifically. But the intent and what we want you to take away from these new policies is that we want to be able to move projects through in a timely fashion and stay as close as we can to the financial budget that we've got established for those projects as best as we can. And I'll be more than happy to take any questions.
Questions? Yes, sir, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Wayne, quick question. So as a county, and I'm sure many of us, all of our municipalities are in the same boat, when it comes to earmarks, we're obviously pursuing surface transportation reauthorization and the grant funds associated with it. So are you saying that if we pursue those grant funds if we pursue those federal funds, that it takes away from funds that would go to our FDOT district?
Not federal funds. Those would, I'm speaking specifically of state funds.
Oh,
Funds
state
that-
earmarks, not congressional.
State earmarks that would go through the state legislature.
Okay.
Federal earmarks are good too. The only concern that we have with federal earmarks at that point is different departments that are out there. We have, I believe the Manatee area, there was some funding that was associated with HUD. That's outside the Department of Transportation. Federal funds are brought into the state through the state departments that most resemble the work that's being done. So if you get grant funds for transportation that come from the US DOT, that would come through the Florida Department of Transportation.
Yep.
For HUD funding, that would go through a local state agency that is similar to what HUD does. The department, the Florida Department of Transportation, does not manage those funds. So those funds come to you through another state agency. The federal dollars would come to you through another state agency.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you have comment? Okay. One of the things, and I'm glad you brought it up because some of it's understanding things, and I think for a lot of differences. And in today's social media world, things move so quickly. And when we're looking at 8, 10, 12, 15, 20 years, it is frustrating. And as elected officials that may, some have term limits, 8 years, you want to see stuff getting done. So I don't think anybody with some of the earmarks ever were trying to supersede things. They were just trying to move them quicker. And, if we're working as a team, it does work better. But I'm glad to hear that there's trying to put some timelines on, because some of the corridor studies in Manatee County, it seems like we've done it now. I've been on for 13 years almost, and now we're doing it again. And, so it's not that people want to override something. They're just frustrated because of time, because we hear it every day on boots on the ground. And so I appreciate, trying to work up a timeline where you can move. And probably one of the biggest things in Manatee County that's happened is I saw that probably hopefully within the next few months, the Cortez Bridge will start, which I think people have, not all people like it, but they've accepted that it can be a better transportation after look at the great bridge in Sarasota County that happened many years ago that has now been very successful. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Moving on to the MPOAC report. I don't have a big report, just the meeting is this week. Unfortunately, they moved the date around, so it's during one of our council meetings, so I won't be able to attend, but something with the hotel, but normally they fall on off dates, so I'm sad to miss that. But I have offered again to be on the executive board, and I think things are starting to move. Amanda Carpenter now has been in there almost a year and really doing a great job as the executive director. I think moving things a lot smoother and faster and knowledgeable coming from DOT. Unfortunately, they're going to lose probably the most knowledgeable person we have, but filling with a young knowledge. We're losing Dave on that board all the years, and Ryan will replace him. But so we know we're getting good young knowledge, but sometimes that seasoned knowledge works better. So, but that's all I have for now. Back on the next report. MPO Executive Director report. Mr. Hutchinson.
Thank you, Chair Brown. Just for any new members or visitors, the MPOAC stands for Metropolitan Planning Organization Advisory Council. It's established in state statute, and it's an organization of all of the MPOs in the state that are represented. there and serves as a conduit for information and discussion between the state and the MPOs collectively and the Federal Highway, et cetera, Federal Transit Administration. So I have a fairly brief report. I would report to you, as you saw in your emails, that our office move is accomplished. It is successful. There's a possibility that once we get the appropriate audio-visual system in there, that it could actually be a place where board meetings could be held. And, you see Ryan up here today. He'll be your director beginning in less than 2 weeks now. So, and he and David Machado worked really hard to smooth that move. I've been through two. They're not fun. And those of you who are moving your county offices or city offices know that as well. Wanted to introduce new staff. One of the things that I was hoping would happen, and it did, is, we've hired his replacement for his planning manager job. Megan Louie, and she can stand if you would, Megan, comes to us most recently as planning and performance manager for Breeze Transit. So congratulations to Tamara in taking on that role at Breeze. Megan holds a master's degree in urban and regional planning from the University of Hawaii. She's worked across North America, in Canada and the US, with 20 years of experience in transportation planning, mostly public sector, multiple levels of government from school boards, municipalities, counties, and transit. So she's a great addition to our staff, and thank you for joining us. And Jane Lee has joined our staff as transportation planner. Jane just graduated from Northwestern University with a master's degree in transportation systems analysis and planning. She brings 3 years of experience in transportation analytics and advisory work in the consulting world, and she's will be a great contributor to our stakeholder engagement efforts and our long-range plan efforts under with Nina and Nick, who are happy to have some help since Varshini left. And last but not least, Nanette retired after many years, 25 years with the MPO, and leaving Rachel McLean as our most long-standing employee, by the way. And Kelly DeForest, so is going to be the new executive assistant. She has over 15 years of experience supporting executives and board-related activities at organizations, most recently including maybe not most recently, but Tampa International Airport and the Hillsborough Airport Authority. So she's worked with our types of meetings before. She worked at Georgia Institute of Technology and is well-versed in agendas and meeting prep, and will be a great addition to our team. She lives in West Bradenton with her husband and 4 children. So,
All the new staff.
great to leave with a full staff, or so that Ryan's not having to do everything himself. He might. You don't want to. I would have felt bad. And I want to just add, since this is my last meeting, that I don't say goodbye, but I'll see you later, hopefully, and around. Since I moved to Florida with my young family and kids in middle school in 2000, joined the Sarasota MPO in 2011, we've had lots and lots of growth in our region. The state has grown by well over 35% since 2000. The funding for transportation hasn't gone up because the national formulas haven't changed, but the state funding has gone up some. Some sources went away, some have grown. We've had horrific storms. Growth continues. We've had recessions and a pandemic. Lots of changes, but lots of progress in transportation. With board direction, MPO staff has worked on many transportation project successes, big and small. You've heard of some of them today, and you'll hear about more later. We had the Venice bypass that was, took quite a few years of many, board discussions and guidance and direction and coordination with FDOT. State Road 64 widening both east and west of I-75. Massive projects on I-75, including the diverging diamond at University Parkway, capacity and operational improvements throughout the region in every jurisdiction. And those included things like medians, turn lane extensions, sidewalks, and trails, and lots of technology being added to the system. So, lots of projects on US 41, which we had identified as a multimodal emphasis corridor, and those range from capacity and safety and bicycle, pedestrian, and operational improvements, including roundabouts, to transit improvements, a lot in that corridor and other places. Our best successes have come from data-driven, performance-based planning, focused priorities, and maintaining collaborative partnerships with the Florida DOT and amongst ourselves. Funding challenges are persistent. Those aren't going to go away. But one thing I've observed is that funding follows plans. Shovel-ready projects are important. That can get you to the front of the line. And now isn't the time to slow down, but to keep the pedal to the metal. Now, that expression, I think some people, we don't have metal floors in our cars anymore, unless you have an old Jeep or an old pickup truck. But, now we don't want to slow down on planning. We want to keep doing what you're doing because it's working. The board involvement from having project champions to support for regional priorities is crucial to this process. And you have a highly competent, dedicated, and diligent staff, and they're here to help, try to get funding for your priorities that go through this regional process. The Bradenton-Palmetto Connector remains the highest priority for state funding. The MPO has committed funds. I was hoping Secretary Driggers would be here to hear this, but Wayne will have to share this. For numerous analyses, feasibility studies, and PD&Es. And the need for the bridge capacity project is supported by the data. And I hope to be invited to a groundbreaking event, ribbon cutting, and later a ribbon cutting, hopefully in the next few years. So I got to keep our eye on the ball. This whole idea of project deliverability, you'll hear more about later, because we saw this coming. We've seen that some projects weren't successful, and what can we do to learn from those experiences and the successful ones. So you'll hear about the transportation investment analysis later in today's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, David. That's a great report, and I'm going to kind of go in Chair's report and basically be about recognizing you. And one of the things that I said earlier about the knowledge that we lose, you've really, I think, tried to pass it on to your successor. And that's where I think most of us up here, if you're setting your organization up to succeed, you're training that younger generation. And the reason that we know he's the younger generation is because he doesn't wear socks. And I'm looking at it right now. So generationally, we are changing, because I don't know any of us old guys and ladies that don't wear socks if you got shoes and pants on, or however it works. But anyway, no, it's just, and it kind of, it's bittersweet. Obviously, I was here. I don't know if anybody else was on the board at the time. Maybe Mayor Chappie was around a little bit and some other, and down there, that when you were hired. And, that was a little bit more of a different type of search at that time, but we went in-house again, and it worked out very well. And the knowledge that you have throughout the state, not just in Sarasota, Manatee County. So it's going to be missed, but you deserve it. And we agree, and I think probably us Manatee County people a little bit more, about that corridor study and how quick that can come. And that's why a lot of things are done, and the number one priority to make safety, traffic not seem so bad at times. But I'll read the plaque we have for you. In recognition of your retirement, presented to Dave L. Hutchinson with sincere appreciation of your dedication and leadership that helped shape our organization, Sarasota Manatee Metropolitan Planning Organization. Not just that, but statewide. So thank you very much. And before we clap, I'll see if anyone else would like to make a comment about Dave. I know I'm going out of order a little bit, but I'd rather do it now when we get to the end, because there's going to be a lot more to do at the end. So any other comments? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Dave has been the executive director ever since I've been here, and it's probably been about 10, 11 years that I've been on the MPO board. So just wanted to let him know we will miss you, and you've been, a great executive director, and I know Ryan will do an equally good job, and thank you very much.
All right, Mayor Chappie?
Yeah, ditto on that. Dave, we've known each other for a long time. You replaced Mike Howell many years ago and had big shoes to fill there, and you've done a stellar job. You've just been amazing. You really take care of the island people out there. You make sure we're aware of what's going on with the MPO, and we wish you a lot of good luck on your next journey.
Commissioner?
Echoing some of those comments, but as a new commissioner last year, I'd like to thank you for helping me with certainly the onboarding, understanding MPOs, and Ryan too. You've been in lockstep ever since. We've had a lot of good conversations about trails, and you've helped me figure out where people are hiding the money to fund trails. So, but in all seriousness, enjoy your retirement. Thank you very much, and Ryan, looking forward to working with you in the future.
Sir?
Yeah, Dave, it's been a pleasure. Your institutional knowledge has been invaluable, and wish you all the best. You deserve it. Enjoy your retirement. It's good to live life while you still have life, and so now's the time. And Ryan, I know you'll do a great job.
Appreciate it.
Dave, I've only been to a couple of your meetings, but I can tell you that from looking at it from the outside in, it's always been pretty easy to follow what's going on here, which is saying a lot because there's a lot going on. So I commend you for that and wish you well. Thank you.
Dave, on behalf of the Longboat Key, I want to thank you for what you've done for us and for me, bringing me on board. It's been less than a year, and it's a lot of study and a lot of counsel from you, so I appreciate that. Best of luck in your future. You deserve it. Ryan, I'm not sure what age has to do with it. I'm probably twice your age, and today is one of the few days I wear socks. Anyway, it's going to be great working with you. Thanks.
Dave, I just want to say, what I appreciate about you the most is the passion that you have for what you do. There's a difference. I learned this a long time ago. It says, don't be nice, be kind. Anybody can be nice. It's a facade, right? To be kind means you have an investment. You're passionate about it. You care about what you do. You care about people. And you've made an investment in our community that will leave a legacy long after you are gone, which I hope is for many, many years. But have fun with those grandchildren. Travel as much as you can and come to as many ribbon cuttings as possible because we hope we have a lot coming up.
Mr. MPO, thank you so much for all you've done for me. When I first came on this board 3 years ago, I was kind of a babe in the woods in MPOs, and it was thank God it wasn't understanding by fire hose. You took time, you walked me through the process, you got me on board. And I have to tell you, for our chair down at the end of the table here and our board of county commissioners, we just thank you for all the hard work that you've done, not only in Sarasota, but in Manatee counties also. Your legacy will forever go on, and we appreciate it. Enjoy retirement, have a great time, and we know Ryan is going to fill those shoes with no problem. Ryan's a great guy, always available anytime. No matter how crazy the question, he's got a better answer. So we appreciate Ryan being on board and stepping into your shoes. But Dave, thank you so much. You're a great guy. Thank you.
Mr. Hutchinson, thank you so much. So just in my short time, I just want to thank you. You're such a gentleman. I know the first time that you came in the office just a year ago, just to kind of give me some good information. I really do appreciate how you did take me under your wing like that, just kind of bring me along and to get up on what was going on with the MPO. So thank you for everything, and I know I look forward to working with Ryan as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Obviously, everything, I would reiterate exactly what everybody else has said. You have been, especially when I was new, helping me through the alphabet soup and guiding us and you have to deal with a lot of different interests and keeping us all working together. And So I want to thank you and wish you all the best in retirement. You deserve it.
Mr. Gaylor?
Mr. Chair, thank you for this opportunity. Dave, best of luck with everything in retirement. I've enjoyed working with you. I've enjoyed your friendship. You put together a good team. You're leaving the MPO in good hands with Ryan, and I look forward to seeing and working with Ryan to see where we can do with the Sarasota Manatee MPO in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Come up here, get a quick picture. If everybody can kind of gather up towards the middle here. Let Dave get in the picture.
I don't need to be this retired.
Yeah, that's good. I'm gonna go around. You go around.
Squeeze in. Squeeze in. Come on.
So I can give him the plaque officially.
Yes, come on.
Midwest in the back.
Everybody scoot in. Or come on.
Yeah.
I'm his work wife.
There you go.
All the time.
All right. Very good. Yep. Good job, Dave.
It says "C'est la vie" on the bottom of it.
I didn't read that because that was
Internal.
yep. That's your internal stuff with staff and Ryan. And I think, again, we talk about legacy, different things, and sometimes they're shorter, longer careers and longer time in leadership. And leadership obviously is training the next generation. And if that's good in a community, I mean, sometimes you have to go outside, but if you're inside, let's make that happen. And I think Ryan, we're proud to have Ryan, and I think Chair Nunderwood, under the weather today, but past chair now, really did a great job at managing through that with us kind of talking and going back and forth through things. So I think we're very lucky, and it is not my son, Ryan Brown. Somebody said, why are you hiring your son for that? That's not my son. Yeah, my son's my son is Ryan, but there. So that concludes my report, basically. Moving on, we will now move to item 6, the consent agenda. Mr. Hutchins will read the titles of each, the record.
Great. The consent agenda includes the approval of the Sarasota Manatee MPO board minutes of October 20th, 25, ratification of the Citizens Advisory Committee officers, the chair and vice chair for this year, as outlined in the agenda item, and other committee appointments and reappointments, updates to our policies that are routine, no major changes there, transportation improvement program modifications that require board notification but not a vote by the show of hands like amendments require. And also there is a 2050 cost feasible plan TISMO funding program, which is a section that is going to be added to the LRTP to more clearly define some of the projects that are included in that section of the long-range transportation plan. It includes funding for some of the ITS, the information technology system improvements in both counties that are upcoming. And a unified planning work program update. I believe that is to update the unified UPWP and related contractual documents with FDOT to reflect the change in executive directors.
Chair will entertain a motion.
So
All right, and a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Thank you.
And who made that motion?
Commissioner Ron,
Okay, thank you.
and then I think I heard Mayor West as the second. All right, next is action items, starting with 7A, Transportation Improvement Plan, the TIP amendments presented by Wayne Gaither.
I'll give me this one. All right, absolutely. So Ryan Brown, Deputy Director. For the record, I just want to cover a number of tip amendments here for us this morning. There's quite a few. Most of them are operational in nature, either adding additional funds or capacity-related funds for the operating fixed route. As you can see in Sarasota County, 5 of the 6 on this list are related to operating funds for our transit services. The only one I will point out and mention of note is the Bobby Jones Circus Trail bike path. We added some additional funds for that as well to make sure that can get over the finish line. So that will be operated through the LAP program, local agency program. And this new project, since it was added to this, it was added into the tip and will require this to be an amendment. Otherwise, cost-wise, that really wasn't required. In Manatee County, similar action here taken as well. Each of these 4 is related to capital assistance from Federal Transit Administration, as well as some for disabilities grants as well. So if you have any questions, Wayne and myself would be happy to answer them. These are typical and pretty standard operations related to the tip.
All right, any questions? Chair will entertain a motion.
Second.
We have Commissioner Smith and then Commissioner Sadiq with the second. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Oh, wait, we do need a raise of hands, so everyone please raise your hand as aye. Carries unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, moving forward, action item 7B, 2022 to 2026 safety targets setting. What do we have for this, Nick? Yep, all right.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
New year, new safety targets. Just a quick reminder, this is something we do annually, and we set these safety targets, and they have to be transmitted to FDOT by February. The safety targets, we track the count and rate of the fatalities and serious injuries, as well as the rate of both of those, as well as the number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. And they're calculated as a 5-year rolling average, and the rates are per 100 million daily vehicle miles traveled. So why do we do this? It's federally mandated, and MPOs essentially have 2 choices. They can either support the statewide safety targets, or they can establish their own for their planning area. So what safety targets are: a statement of policy direction, priorities for the transportation system, a framework for monitoring trends and informing project selection, not necessarily predicting outcomes, and a way to coordinate safety goals among regional partners. What they are not, we don't gain or lose funding depending on if we meet or fail to meet these goals, and as a result, it's not set forth to penalize agencies in any way, and it's certainly not a replacement for, as Dave was mentioning, data-driven safety analysis and project selection, which we'll cover a little bit later. And so why does setting a target of 0 still matter? It provides a clear public-facing commitment to safety. As you can see in our lower left corner, we have a whole Destination Zero advisory group and movement to kind of reach that goal and inform safety in the region. It keeps safety at the forefront of all transportation planning and reinforces a shared statewide commitment as FDOT and many other MPOs in the region set these targets of 0. And setting a target of 0 is really a focus on continuous improvement, not if we base it on trends, it's kind of implies that a certain number of deaths or serious injuries is acceptable. So just out of curiosity, from some of our other committees, what do other Florida MPOs do? Well, in 2025, the vast majority supported the state target, and some other approaches were setting a % reduction from previous years, or maintaining current numbers and rates, or a % reduction needed to reach 0. So FDOT, once again, is supporting its Target 0 initiative this year with 0 fatalities, 0 serious injuries. And this MPO is proposing, as in years past, following this approach, and proposing 0 across the board, but our projected figures are 111 fatalities, fatality of rate of 1.29, 774 serious injuries, 5.4 serious injury rate, and 164 non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. And as I kind of touched on at my interim safety report, now that 2020 has dropped out of the 5-year average, as well as many other safety improvements, we are seeing a decrease, which is good, but there's certainly still a long way to go to reach zero. And as part of this, we also support our transit agencies and their safety targets, MCAT and Breeze, and they set these targets based on prior trends and a whole lot of other things, and we support their goals. And I can just put those up on the screen here. And so with that, is there any questions, or could we?
Yeah, let me get if there's any questions. I think one of the things I said earlier in the meeting is education, because unfortunately in Manatee County, especially on the Cortez Road corridor between 26th Street and 14th Street or US 41, several years ago, DOT put all the mid-cross blocks, which you go, I think there's 6 or 8 of them between that area, and it almost is crazy looking when you drive down the road, but unfortunately the fatalities are still happening in between those. And they tried to make them closer together to get where there is some safety, but we're still seeing a few in there. And, obviously, this board originally, a few years ago, was concerned with the destination or target zero, the way it came out. But I think then once it got education on it and different things, it said, yeah, our target is zero, especially in the video that they show that you're saying, well, I don't think that'll ever happen, but 50 people, and the 50 people that walk behind you are your 50 family members. So you get the point, and I think that's important to articulate. But how can we get more education? Because our last fatality on the road in Manatee County was there was a crosswalk not that far up the road and a light. So I think some of that has to play into it, where, I don't know, I hate more signage. Sometimes you just want people reading it if they think, well, I'll walk 50 feet instead of try to cut across the major 6 to 8 lane highways.
Yeah, and I believe this will probably come up later in the meeting, but we have a whole video series on how to use those, and there's Destination Zero mailing list, and we have blogs about it. So we're certainly working a lot with public involvement and getting the word out there on, what safety improvements have been made and how to use them, and just best practices for keeping safe on our roads.
Good, thank you. All right, moving on to the next action item, 7B.
Can we get a motion to?
Yeah, just to approve it.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll have a motion to approve the safety targets.
So moved.
All right, we have Commissioner Mast. And then second by Commissioner Brenham. All right, we just need all of 4, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving forward. Next, we'll have 7C, 2025 top accomplishments and 26 strategic priorities. Grace, thank you.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I'm Grace Sagowski, the Public Involvement Coordinator for the MPO. And something we do at the beginning of each year is we reflect on the previous year and put together a list of our top 10 accomplishments to present to our committees and our board, you all, since you have been a huge part in it. So I will be giving an overview of the MPO's top 10 accomplishments from 2025 today, and the full list is linked in your agenda packet. So here we go. First up is the 2050 Long Range Transportation Plan adoption. We completed the last 2 phases of outreach and development of the plan last year, and it was adopted by you all in October. And we also completed the quadrennial federal certification review back in July, and we're recognized with 3 noteworthy practices, and that will be touched on later today in the meeting. We had several priorities funded in the draft tentative work program and advanced our regional planning studies, which includes a few new studies that were scoped last year and have been kicked off this month. Next is public engagement. We hosted a public workshop, 2 events, and surveys, and continued our newsletter and social media with some more creative content. And for safety, we launched the Destination Zero blog and video series, which we have 6 videos out so far, and they each touch on a different safety topic. So they're a fun and engaging way for the public to learn about roadway safety. We also rolled out an organizational safety culture improvement plan. In transit, coordination was strong, including the annual evaluation of the Transportation Disadvantaged program for Manatee and Sarasota counties. For administrative and organizational advancements, we onboarded new general planning consultants and completed a successful office relocation, as Dave mentioned earlier. MPO staff presented and attended several conferences, including the Association of Metropolitan Planning Organizations, or AMPO, and Transportation Research Board, TRB for short. And then finally, there were 27 committee meetings and 5 board meetings in 2025. So those are the highlights of the top 10 accomplishments. And we thank you all for your support. And real quick, our director, Dave, is very proud of our video series and thought we should highlight and show you a little clip of just one of our videos. We have 6 out now, as I mentioned, but this is just a minute portion of our pedestrian hybrid beacon video. So if you want to watch the rest of the series, it's on YouTube and on our website you could find it. Highly recommend. Here we go, if it works. Okay, it's just taking its sweet time. The play button is not functioning. Oh, it's just my fingers were working.
Boy, do I love walking. I'm glad we have pedestrian hybrid beacons in the region so I can safely cross busy roadways. Come with me, I'll show you how it's done.
Very nice.
Yes, thank you. So that was just a clip of that video itself, because then there's the portion for drivers too, approaching the PHB. But yeah, we have 6 different videos. So yeah, you can find them on our YouTube page. And next, I'm going to hand it off to Nina for the 2026 strategic priorities.
Thank you, Grace. Nina Venter, MPO staff. So now that we have an idea of what we accomplished in 2025, we take a look at what we would like to work on in 2026. So I'll just kind of breeze through this list here in four main categories: planning, implementation, administration, and engagement. On the planning end of things, we are adapting our safety performance targets, which the board just did today, adopting 2026 project priorities in March, and you'll be reviewing a draft list of that also today. Working on the draft tentative work program with FDOT, the TIP, and then ongoing collaboration with partners. We have kicked off several new planning studies as well. We are working on an organizational safety culture improvement plan, and we'll be hoping to wrap that up in June, and we'll provide an update to the board in May. We kicked off a regional freight analysis. We're working on a regional transit feasibility study, which will include a look at the water taxis. And then also a watershed and transportation asset analysis, which is sort of a next phase of the resiliency and vulnerability initiative of this MPO. On the implementation side, we are working on updating our project prioritization process as well, which is something that we do every few years, and certainly now with the adoption of the LRTP underway. We're also procured a new data platform called Locus, so we'll be getting on board with that, and this tool will also be available to all of our local agency partners as well. And then implementing the long-range transportation plan. Every single bullet item that you see under the LRTP is a planning study or planning initiative that this MPO has completed and that has been adopted by this board. So with the adoption of the LRTP, we are now working on implementing those plans. On the administration end, we will be adopting a new UPWP this year for the next 2-year cycle, working with FDOT on the state certification, ongoing policy reviews, committee meetings, board meetings, and then we'll be bringing the top 10 back to you this time next year as well. And then working on engagement, as always, MPO board orientation, advisory committee orientations, continuing to work on the Destination Zero Safety Education campaign. We'd like to get some more of those videos ongoing. We've got a blog on our website as well, but we're also looking for ways to partner with some of our state and local agencies as well. We know that FDOT is doing great work on safety education in Polk County, for example. We've been in conversations about bringing that down into Sarasota, Manatee as well. Knowing that the education piece, it hugely complements the planning and engineering end of things as well. Working on the Gulf Coast Trail coordination to make sure that we're planning and implementing our Gulf Coast Trail, and then always working on outreach as we do these planning studies. So that just gives you an idea of what 2026 holds in store for us.
So any questions, or the chair will entertain a motion to affirm the 2025 top accomplishments and 2026 strategic priorities?
So moved.
All right.
Second.
Thank you. That was Vice Mayor Bolt and Commissioner Sadiq. Any further discussion? Hearing none, the chair will all say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. All right, moving on to the Ed Smith Planning Study. Brian? With Kimley Horn.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Ryan Suarez with Kimley Horn. It is a pleasure to be here today with everyone. And it has been a pleasure working with staff over the last year on this project. This includes county, MPO, and city staff. They've been a great help. We've developed a robust set of multimodal enhancements and recommendations for the corridors. In the study, here are the outcomes. Again, staff has been a big help. Now I'm going to try to keep this, I've been told to keep this to about 5 to 7 minutes because of time, so I'll do the best I can. If there are any questions, I'm going to be here at the end of the meeting so we can touch on any details if I leave anything outstanding. Again, these are the major outcomes. I'll focus on the corridor by corridor recommendations. That's where we spent the healthiest amount of time for this project. To remind everyone, the study area, you'll see it here bordered by 17th Street on the north, Fruitville on the south, US 301 on the west, and Boniva Road on the east side. You got about 9,000 to 10,000 people live in this area. It's largely residential, commercial activities, largely retail, some heavy commercial activity over in that northwest quadrant and near the railroad tracks. So there's a lot going on here. You'll see the Ed Smith Stadium there, and as opposed to looking at every single road in the study area, we did focus on about 10 select corridors. They include the city and county maintained roads that are shown here. As I mentioned, we've got a lot of projects, small and large scale, so thinking about the low-hanging fruit, what we can do quickly. The quick wins along with larger improvements, larger scale improvements as well. One of the things that it was actually county staff that charged us, well, Ryan, Kimley Horn team, well, what's most important? What do you guys suggest we do first? What we ended up doing was using the MPO, Nina mentioned it, the MPO prioritization tool, the same tool that's used to grade priority projects that come in through the MPO process. We applied that to specific segments of road, and these 5 were the top 5 ranking segments in our study area. I've got graphics and information for every single segment, and I'm just going to touch on some highlights for each one, beginning with 12th Street. 12th Street, and this is 12th Street on the west side of our study area. So think west of Tuttle, which includes the baseball, right in front of the baseball stadium, heading further west all the way to 301. The city does have some plans and has targeted this area for some redevelopment. It's zoned, well, the future land use has it, has a small section carved out for some multi-use development. We feel that because of the low volumes in terms of traffic, this is a good candidate for the types of improvements that you see here. You'll see the painted and protected bike lane, protected by those armadillos that are shown here, along with the medians. Currently, that section of road does not contain any median. This helps slow traffic down, and it allows some refuge for folks who are crossing the street on foot as well. 17th Street, I believe this is one graphic that I showed at our previous meeting. Again, 17th Street, along with a stretch on Beneva, we did see the highest incidence of crashes. Those medians are important. We were out there riding bike as well as part of a bike audit that we performed with staff. We do feel that separating on the south side, adding a wider sidewalk so that different types of users can ride their bikes and also make it safer for pedestrians would be an important improvement, along with the medians that you see here. Beneva Road, we're going to focus on the section of Beneva Road that was on the south side of our study area, which really is near the Commons, all the way up to Fruitville Road. A lot of traffic on the stretch. And there were a lot of crashes. Well, relatively speaking, again, to the study area that we were focused on. You'll see the improvements that are shown here. Again, the medians are important. There's that hard line center splitter curb that you see here. We feel is significant for slowing down those left-hand turn movements. Importantly, for this stretch of road, there is some city-owned property on the east side, and we feel might be more easily acquired to be able to expand and add a wide sidewalk on that east side, which will connect up to Circus Boulevard, excuse me. And Tuttle is important. Surprisingly for us, we did see there was a lot of average daily travel on this road in competition with 17th and even that stretch of Beneva. So you got a lot of folks using this road, and we feel it's because there are a lot of community assets that are connected by Tuttle, which include the Cal Ripken rec facility to the north or near 17th, the stadium itself, and also Tuttle Elementary School. One of the things we are recommending here is to add that pedestrian signal that you see here around 10th Street. On game day observations, we did see a lot of activity there that were just not safe. And this was both on the part of pedestrians, cyclists, and a lot of the cars that were traveling through the area. And Lockwood Ridge, again, this is the second one I believe I showed at our last meeting. Traffic volumes here in the 2050 long-range plan hold steady and they're maintained. So we feel this is a good opportunity to use a lot of that right-of-way to add the multimodal facilities that you see illustrated here on this graphic. You're probably all asking yourself, well, hey, what about Ed Smith? What are we going to do about the traffic there? To put this in short, the Orioles team does a very good job of managing traffic on game days. Parking does seem to be adequate. They move people very quickly through the traffic queues and onto the lots. We do feel if there are some improvements needed, they're smaller in scale. You'll see some wayfinding improvements here. So really that's just signage, perhaps directing folks to the Cal Ripken lot instead of that north lot, which everybody seems to want to funnel to. The bike and pedestrian improvements are things such as what we're recommending on Tuttle. So these are leading pedestrian intervals at 12th Street, also the crossing at 10th and Tuttle. And then some transportation improvements, bus shelters, perhaps a separate area for Uber and Lyft, rideshare pickup and drop-off, perhaps a corral for the micromobility Evo tools that are out there now and available to Sarasota. This is the project dashboard. There are a lot of projects in our lists, again, small and large scale. We've created this to make it easy for folks to drill down and use the filter tools to get to a specific location, segment, or corridor and look to see what's being recommended in the plan. I encourage everybody to go take a look at this. Again, if you have questions, circle back to myself, the Kimley Horn team, or to MPO staff. I'd like to pause on this one because this one's important. I keep mentioning those low-hanging fruit. I will like to credit staff here. This is city and county staff. They have taken it upon themselves to put in a lot of our smaller scale improvements right into those citizen request management tools that are available so that they can be implemented and established here sooner than later. That's a big plus and a big win, I think, for everybody, for us. We prepare a lot of plans. It's like this nice to see things getting done sooner than later. For some of the bigger ticket items, there are some funding programs out there and available. What we've done in our plan is attempted to align some of those larger ticket items with funding programs that exist out there through the federal agencies and through the state. That's what I've got. Hopefully I kept to the time and made it interesting enough. If anybody has any questions, I'm here to answer.
Any questions? Obviously, if you've been around a while, the LECOM study was done a couple years ago, same type of situation, and nothing moves fast, but things are happening, gives opportunity to kind of plan other things around it, which we're doing a lot around the LECOM City Park area now. So exciting to see that happening there in that area. So Chair will entertain a motion to adopt the Ed Smith Planning Study. All right, Commissioner Smith is second.
Second.
All right, Chair Bolt. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Moving on to Franco. Transportation Investment Analysis.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Franco Saraceno with Kittleson. Happy to be with you here today to talk a little bit about the transportation investment analysis. So as you all know, the MPO board works very hard to set priorities every year to develop a list of project priorities. Currently, 78 of the projects on your list have been listed for multiple years. As Mr. Gaither mentioned, it's perfectly normal and reasonable for a project to take years, sometimes up to 8 years to complete. But some of those projects have been on the list for 9 years or more. So that's sort of the impetus of this study. The goal of which is to dig a little deeper, do a little research on historical project evolution, to interview staff at FDOT, the MPO, to tap the vast institutional knowledge of Dave and Ryan, and to really get to the bottom of what's going on. So as I mentioned, we reviewed 10 years of FDOT STIPs. We also tracking the evolution of projects in Sarasota and Manatee counties over those 10 years. We also looked at the last 10 years of priorities and tracked priority projects in the STIPs over that time period. And again, we interviewed FDOT staff, MPO staff, and others to learn as much as we could about what were the project successes, what were the things that were holding up projects. I think it's important to recognize that our region is part of a much bigger region that FDOT District 1 has to maintain and oversee. The broader region is 12,000 square miles. We're about 1,300 of that. I think it's important because FDOT has limited resources and they have to spread the wealth to take care of the transportation system across that much broader region. So we first took a look at how many STIPs projects appeared in. 147 projects in the Sarasota-Manatee County region were carried over in 5 or more STIPs, 43 in more than 8 STIPs. We also looked at programmed versus actual expenditures. Overall, the average is 82%, so a pretty good track record, just broadly for all projects in the region. But then we took a closer, well, in terms of discrepancies, early on in 2015, 42 million more was spent than programmed. Moving forward, that discrepancy changed direction, and in 2022, we had 78 million less spent than programmed overall. We also took a look specifically at LOPP projects, 36 of which have appeared in more than 5 STIPs, 22 in more than 8 STIPs. And when we look at that programmed versus actual for priority projects, we see a little bit of a different story. From 2015 to 2020, it was pretty good, but overall, compared to the 82% for all projects, for priority projects, it's only 63%. And over the last few years, we've seen a big gap in the wrong direction. So in 22 and 2023, only 30% of what was programmed on those priority projects was actually spent on them. So again, that's sort of the impetus for this study, to see what's going on and what happened. We also looked specifically at SU funding, which, as you know, is the funding that the MPO has discretion over, 86% of which was programmed on priority projects, which is appropriate. But again, only 30% of what was programmed on those priorities was actually spent on the projects. Just walk you through a few success stories and a few of the not so successful stories. Starting with the successful ones, US 41 at Fruitville Road was completed in 2022, was in the STIP 6 years. And really the secret of this project was the city of Sarasota's commitment to the project and commitment to putting it ahead of other priorities. We all have lots of priorities. Sometimes we have to put the top one at the top and focus on that one project at the cost of other improvements. I-75 from Sumter Boulevard to Toledo Blade. This was only in the STIP for 2 years, completed last year. This is an example of a project where the department, the MPO, the city of Northport were all pointed in the same direction, working together to get the project accomplished. And then Honore Avenue ITS improvement. This was completed in 1 year. This is a good example of low-hanging fruit and the MPO's commitment to push forward these cost-affordable improvements to mitigate congestion. Some of the more challenging projects include the Palmetto Trails Network Plan. Initially, this was a project that was intended to better connect to the SunTrail system. PD&E was completed in 2021. What came out of that was a number of neighborhood connection projects. So the project sort of lost its focus and became many projects, and it's sort of been stalled since. 10th Avenue from 17th Street to Riverside. This one's been in the STIP 11 years, prioritized since 2017. This is a project that sort of changed hands back and forth from FDOT to the LAP agency, and just that lack of good coordination and communication has sort of stalled it. And finally, US 41 Blackburn Point to State Road 72, 11 years in the STIP. This one's a little bit misleading because it's a large project, a very long segment, for which the costs have risen dramatically since it was first conceived. And so to deal with that, it's been sort of segmented, several portions of which have been completed. But again, rising costs, that's an issue that's affecting most projects. I think we're all very well aware of that. That's one of the big issues. So in conclusion, we interviewed FDOT staff. We did a lot of research to identify what are the issues that are holding projects up and how can we improve on project delivery based on those issues. And I'll walk through these one by one. But I think, again, the sort of the overarching thing here is communication, coordination, and collaboration. There's a lot of stakeholders, a lot of moving parts. You've got the local agencies, the MPO, the department, private utilities, the public, and sort of that coordination piece sort of touches all of these things. Starting with project scoping, when FDOT is presented with a project that is not well scoped, a good example is we need a safety improvement on this facility. It's difficult for the department to know what to do without doing further study. As that process unfolds, the scope can change, or often does change, leading to redesign, leading to increased costs and schedule impacts. So really, we think the key thing is to identify the goals of the project at the very beginning, scope it out as detailed as possible, and then to follow a formal scoping checklist along the way to prevent those redesigns and prevent those increased costs and schedule impacts. The utility coordination is a big one. This has affected a lot of projects. When utility conflicts are found during design, it's often too late. Not too late, but at that point, you've already invested a lot of money in the project. It has to be redesigned. It has to be, and sometimes it gets derailed because the utility conflicts are not surmountable. So early coordination with the utilities, between the utilities, the department, the MPO, again, that coordination piece is crucial, and to do it early in the process as a critical path scope item. Cost estimates, rising costs, we all know this is an issue. We can't really control this, but what we can do is detailed cost estimates early in the process as possible, building in reasonable inflation rates, using recent bid and cost history to reflect market conditions, and then to revisit the cost estimates on a regular basis. You know, if we do initial project cost estimates, a year later we're in design, and those costs have doubled or tripled in some cases, it's kind of too late to deal with that. Whereas if we revisit those costs on a regular basis, we can see those things coming and adjust accordingly. Phasing and scheduling, this is really about bundling projects. This is something that FDOT is a big fan of doing. Identifying all the needs on a corridor. If FDOT is doing a resurfacing project, for example, it's important to know what other needs we have on that corridor so that we can achieve some economies of scale and instead of doing 5 separate projects, maybe do 1 or 2. Finally, again, as I said, coordination and communication are key to all of this. We think it's important, a couple of things. One, inclusivity, to make sure that the department, the MPO, and the local stakeholders are in the room at every meeting to make sure that everybody's on the same page. And then to establish a communication protocol that we can all follow to make sure that, that nothing falls through the cracks. So in summary, 4 key things: establishing clear goals early in the project development process to know what the scope is, what we're trying to accomplish, utility coordination early in the process, identify a project champion to coordinate broadly. One of the other things that we found is that oftentimes staff turnover, political turnover, can lead to a project sort of losing steam and falling off the tracks. So a transition process for projects when there is that turnover should be part of that protocol. And then again, agency partners need to participate in MPO committee meetings, and all parties need to stay on the same page and collaborate consistently across the project development process. So that's all I have for you. Happy to answer any questions.
All right, yes.
Thank you. I think one that I would like to maybe focus in a little bit on, thank you for this very helpful report, is a lot of times acquisitions and right-of-ways become extremely challenging in the process and can take years and years and years to get through the process. And I have found that personally within our county, we're trying to do something that seems very simple, but we're trying to say when we come across projects years in advance, even if we aren't even close to what we think we're going to be at, is when that's the timing that you need for those acquisitions and those right-of-ways. Because if you wait until the project is before you, you have now really put yourself in a very difficult position to be successful. Second of all, I would say that when there are multiple municipalities and or agencies involved, communication can be extremely challenging because, for example, I will say the diverging diamond right now at Fruitville intersection is an FDOT project. And although it's my district, I am like the last person who hears about any of the information for our constituents. And there's a tower that goes up right there, and we didn't even know about it until they were putting it on site. It wasn't on the plans, it wasn't in any of the notes, and it's like, so the challenge that I think we have to continually strive for is better communication. And how we do that, I wish I had the magic wand, but I think what's so critical is the relationships and the collaboration that you spoke about several times. I do think that is a key factor, and I do think that I would never say that we give too much information. I would rather err on that side than not enough, because I believe our constituents really do want to know what's going on and want to be a part of helping the whole project be successful. And so I think you said it 4 or 5 times about the importance of that, and those relationships are so critical. And so I think it's so important for all of us on this board and all the individuals sitting in this room to have that open dialogue. Even if you feel like you've said it 100 times, say it 101 times, and try to just continue those open dialogues so that we can better communicate. So thank you.
Of course.
All right, is there a motion to adopt the transportation investments analysis? All right, second. All right, we have Commissioner Mast and Mayor West. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All, any opposed? Carries unanimously.
Good. Chair Brown.
All right, next we have Nick again.
Chair Brown.
Yes.
If I could just add to that
Yes.
item, one of the other initiatives that's underway is an update of the project prioritization criteria and process. And so with your adoption of these recommendations, those will be incorporated into that effort so that deliverability and constructability and fundability will become considerations that will help in the ranking of projects. So that the list that you adopt for annual list of priority projects should help make sure that all of the projects on that list are actually deliverable on a reasonable schedule, in consistent with the state's initiative and with your long time interests in getting projects that can be built.
Right. All right, thank you, Dave. Moving on.
Yeah, so I'll be here presenting the results of our safety countermeasures performance monitoring study. And this really came about as a result of Destination Zero. We have this safety commitment, the MPO and all of our local partners talk about safety a lot, and we get questions of, okay, so what's actually being done? And the answer is a lot by FDOT, the MPO, and our locals, and we're aware of, we certainly follow our projects and FDOT projects, but part of the impetus for this study was seeing what the locals were doing and kind of creating a centralized place where we can see all the safety projects that have been implemented in the region. And then we wanted to use data to analyze these projects and see which are most effective. So we had our own projects. We reached out to the FDOT Safety Office. We also polled our TAC members for our local projects, and as a result, we got 123 projects collected. And then we had those projects mapped and then did an analysis to see total number of crashes, fatal and serious injury crashes, as well as types of crashes and some mobility metrics. So the methodology that we used for safety, we looked at 3 years before and after construction and applied a buffer to those segments and essentially revisited the before and after. And then for mobility, we looked at 1 year before and after construction. And as a result, for safety with that 3-year buffer on either end, a lot of the projects we had submitted were more recent and didn't exactly have the 3-year buffer. So we weren't able to do analysis on a lot of those, but we were able to get 38, and the rest of those are just inventoried, and this is kind of a continuous monitoring, and we will certainly be revisiting with new projects as well as getting those ones analyzed. This is just kind of a visual. On the left there, you see the safety project segments. We apply a buffer. If the crash is within that buffer, it's included. If it's not, it's excluded, and then you can kind of see the buffer visualized there. So the overall results, looking at all sorts of safety countermeasures, so that could be roundabouts, lighting projects, sidewalks, et cetera. We essentially see a pretty similar takeaway that total crashes have increased, with growing population, that's to be expected to a certain extent, but we are seeing a reduction in fatal and serious crashes, as well as a reduction in nighttime crashes resulting in death or serious injury, as well as bike ped safety gains. So as far as specific projects go, a lot of what we found does align with national research on the subject. With roundabout projects, for example, we see an increase in total crashes, but with it replacing, say, a four-way intersection, we have far less angle and high-speed crashes. It's more fender benders, less crashes that result in death or serious injury. And similar with lighting projects, we found large improvements in nighttime crashes. And we also wanted to look at mobility to see if what kind of the trade-off, if there is any, between these safety improvements and traffic movement. And really, we looked at three metrics with travel time reliability, planning time index, and speed ratio. And other than roundabouts, which decrease speed but increase reliability, we found that these safety projects really do not have any sort of negative or positive impact on mobility. So you can implement these safety projects without interrupting traffic flow or increasing congestion. And so with that, the next steps is, as I mentioned, this is a continuous process. We have a lot of projects that we already have inventoried that we're going to revisit as time goes on and crash data becomes more available, as well as working with our local partners, as well as FDOT, to get new projects kind of included in that database. And then we're going to leverage these results to inform future safety action plans and to continue supporting performance-based, data-driven monitoring. And with that, I can take any questions anyone may have.
Any questions? Chair will entertain a motion to adopt the safety countermeasure performance monitoring.
So moved.
All right, I have Mastas first and Brenham as second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
We got about 10 minutes, I think, to take a 5-minute break and then start our meeting at 11.
Yes, and we have two presentations.
Right.
They're both
Yeah.
pretty
They'll be fast.
short.
Okay, good.
If we could take actually, if you could take that break just before the federal certification findings, we have Federal Highway that will attempt to present remotely. It's a very brief presentation, if we can get the Zoom work, or I can just do it. Either
Okay.
way.
All right, we're going to go with Nina now. Thank you, Nina.
Sure.
Start the MPO presentation, draft 2026 project priorities.
Thank you. So as part of your agenda packet was the draft 2026 list of project priorities. So we are making this list available for you now as it goes through a review process, making any necessary edits, corrections, changes. This was also presented to your technical advisory committee members, and so we are working with them to verify the projects, make sure that everything is as they should be. The draft list of project priorities is compiled in partnership with the local agencies. You all submit project priority applications to the MPO for funding consideration. We process those applications, we score the projects, and develop this draft list. This will come back to the MPO board for your adoption in March. A couple of things to note is that by February 20th, we are asking for local agencies to approve the projects that were submitted. This is sort of the last and final step of the submission. So if it has not already come before your council or commission, it will be coming, and so that will need to be approved and submitted to the MPO to finalize those projects. Since the TAC meeting, I know that there are projects that have been flagged. There are projects, the details might change, they might move on the list, they might be added or removed. So I wanted to let you know that we are working with your staff on those projects. You'll also note that the list is reformatted from previous years, so it looks a little bit different. And this was for several reasons. One was with the adoption of the LRTP, we've necessitated a reformatting of the list. But also, we have had feedback over the last few years and in our experience that we wanted to better communicate what the MPO priorities are and also what the MPO priorities are generally. So the new list provides a little bit more language to draw a clear relationship between the LRTP and the project priorities, and it also clearly defines the different sections within the LRTP. So largely it's organized between projects that are currently in the 5-year adopted work program, projects that are unfunded priorities that we would like to get into the work program, and then projects that are considered unfunded needs. These are projects that do not have any funding identified for them in the long-range plan, but would otherwise be eligible for funding consideration. So if funding became available, they would be eligible for funding consideration. And then what we did as well was we took what previously was called the local needs list, which was sort of tacked onto the previous list, and we made it an appendix. And so we wanted to separate out the local needs, which are projects that are currently inconsistent with the long-range transportation plan and not eligible for funding consideration, even if funding became available. The only way that they would become eligible is if the long-range transportation plan was amended. So we wanted to draw those projects out and sort of put them on as an appendix for informational purposes only. We think that this will better communicate to our local partners, to FDOT and the public, what the MPO priorities are and really what needs to be lined up for funding. So with that, I'll take any questions, but we'll be working with your staff and bringing this back to you in March.
All right, any questions on that? All right, hearing none, so do we want to take a couple-minute break now?
That'd be great.
Okay, let's take about a 3 or 4 minute, just so they can get, hopefully, the virtual part up, and we'll be back here.
Problem is they're going to start one.
So,
Hello, can you hear me? Testing?
Hi, Dana. This is Chris. We are the AV company here with the meeting. We are trying to get the Zoom audio working in the room. There's been a difficulty. We've had a lot of that earlier this morning, so we're trying to work through this issue right now.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine, but I'm on my
Okay.
phone right now. I can't hear you through the audio system, so I'm working on that solution right now. Give me a few minutes. If we can't get this working, Ryan Brown said he could present this item if necessary. All right, so
Yeah, I
let's
hear a
see.
lot of feedback.
I'm gonna mute you while I work on this picture. All right, so I'm in the meeting. Here. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Should be on this channel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Two. Can you get close? Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. It's final. Dana, can you try to speak on your end, please?
Yes, testing, 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me?
I believe so. Keep talking. Count to 10
Okay.
for me.
I'm in Tallahassee, Florida. Can you hear me loud and clear? Testing. Yeah. Yes, I am speaking. 1, 2. Can you hear me? Okay.
Dana, we're getting a really long delay, a- and we're going to not be able to use you for the presentation. Ryan
Okay.
Brown will take over.
Okay. Thank
My
you.
apologies.
That's okay. I can't hear anything.
conversation about training and technical assistance. They did offer to provide, when available, assistance on a number of ongoing issues, administrative, specific training. I will say, coming up with reauthorization at the federal level, that's something that we will certainly be working closely with Federal Highway and Transit Administration on over the next year or so. So I think that's pretty much it for a presentation, but I'll let Dave add as well.
Well, we did have Ms. Knox indicate that she would like to attend a future MPO board meeting. They used to have a group that would come down to present these formally to an MPO board, and their staff in Tallahassee has been reduced from 9 or 10 people in the planning division to, two, maybe 3. And so they're, assisting and working to maintain the programs, and we'll see what reauthorization does. We don't anticipate them not having federal transportation funding. We're anticipating that, that there will continue to be a program. Some of the emphasis areas may shift, but that's why we do long-range planning, and we're set up to adapt to that, and we appreciate their support and their certification for another 4 years.
All right, any questions?
And what makes this important is it keeps us eligible for the receipt of federal transportation funding within the entire region.
Any questions? All right, we're going to go to member comment, but before we do that, Dave and Ryan, I want to ask, is there any training coming up? Has it been planned with the MPOAC? I don't remember hearing about any current dates for newer board members or updating things.
They are talking about having something in the fall.
Fall, I think it
Yes,
was, so.
Yes.
So again, I think those are very good, and I think Amanda's trying to revamp it and make it a little bit more, as Councilwoman Coker would say, and there's a lot of words that I say at times, but the word soup, because it's just so many different terminologies that you don't want to break every meeting and say, what does that mean? What does that mean? And all of that. So I think it's good. So I'm glad and I remember talking about it, but I didn't know if it was sooner.
Coming up, they did have one that was in Palm Beach, and then they had the one in Tampa that some of you did go to.
Right. Yep. So, all right. So member comments, anything to my left? Yes.
I got just one thank you. We had the happy occasion last commission meeting last week to recognize the contractors and all the people that participated in completing a project for us on Longboat Key, which was through that 8 or 9 year process. We completed the turn lanes for about a half a mile on the south end of Longboat Key. Small project, but a big project to us. Vastly improved safety on and off that road, and on time, on budget. So we're very proud of that, very thankful for the MPO and for particularly FDOT in helping us respond to some late-breaking changes that needed to be made, and it's done. Thank you.
All right. Mayor West?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a quick question for Mr. Gaither. We have had, during Hurricane Milton, we lost 4 light poles on the Green Bridge between Palmetto and Bradenton. We just want to find out a status on those. We have been getting questions about it, so I just wanted to see if you could find that out for us when they would be delivered.
I was speaking with the mayor about this a little earlier.
Yeah, all 4 of them that are down are on the Palmetto side, so it's not as, no, it's our whole bridge, and I know they were talked about a year or so ago that it would take a while to get them in, but it seems like it's been a while now.
Very much so, and in the meantime, while the meeting was going on, and after our conversation, I did have, Wayne Gaither, for the record, FDOT. I did reach out to our folks. We are in the process of still compiling the materials that are needed. We've gone through a whole series, but we are in this vicinity working on them now. So the anticipation, fingers crossed that everything goes smooth, is we should be working on these areas within the next 2-week period. It may not be putting the poles up, it may be doing all of the work that's necessary to prep to put the poles up. But the Green Bridge will have some special concerns with the MOT, meaning we'll have to close down a lane to install the new light poles.
We do have our River Regatta where it closes the bridge in February 20th and 21st. Yeah, so maybe if you could put that on the list where we have it closed for all day on Saturday, the 21st. So if we could have no construction at that time.
And that's Saturday, February 21st?
Right. Or if we're going to start it, wait till just after that. All right, yes, Councilwoman Coker.
And with regard to that, will they close it down just for certain hours of the day? Because I can't even imagine the peak hours if you had to close one of the lanes on the Green Bridge.
Especially morning coming into Bradenton, afternoon going out to Palmetto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't imagine.
Yeah, we can, and that was, I think, what Vice Chair Mass talked about, is just communication, so we can plan for it. And we work well with DOT, with Bradenton and Palmetto during the peak hours, morning coming in from Palmetto, afternoon going out, to make sure the lights are working and transportation lines. Even though sometimes people don't think it, they're making sure they're synced correctly. And then also, I just had one other, and Mr. Gaither and I talked about it, but just to mention it publicly if people hear it, and even some city staff working through it when they drive home now. We're very grateful that Manatee Avenue from 43rd Street all the way to the interstate to the east is pretty much paved now. In the west part of town, from 15th Street to 43rd Street, they finally got the divots, which are the manholes that are sometimes 3-4 inches, which when you're driving at speed limit, hit those, it's like gonna break your car tires. But now east is that way from probably 9th Street all the way to 43rd Street east, or a little bit maybe this way, but there's some that are huge. And yesterday I counted, there's 25. So, and some of them, it looks like they have X's on them, like they're working on them. But that goes also to the coordination. Some of them are stormwater with the city. Some of them are DOT stormwater. Some of them are the utilities. So I would hope that maybe we could look at that in the future and try to plan it where before the road has got its final coat, they're lifted so we don't have, because they could cause an accident, and people are really, I'm getting a call 5 o'clock on Thursday last week, boom, 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 they're hitting, he said, I'm hitting them, and it's just, if we can check on that for us.
Not a problem. I've gotten a little bit of information on that as well. We're working with staff. Our staff is working with your staff to identify some specific locations. They've got 13 other sites that they've collectively defined and are looking to get those addressed within the next couple of weeks. It's just going to take a little bit of time to mobilize the crews. I will bring up the additional location of 9th through 34th to make sure that's covered.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the time and the effort to let us know.
Thank you. All right, anything else? Hearing none, our next meeting is March 30th, 2026 at 9 a.m. here at the Doubletree. We will be adjourned going into our next meeting.
Yes, about 5 minutes.
5 minutes, yep.
Move a few chairs and name tags around.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'll be up there. Good observations. They could have amended the agenda.
All right, good morning, everyone. We'll go ahead and start the joint meeting. It's Monday, January 26th, 2026 at 11 a.m. Actually, it's 11:11, joint meeting of the MPO Board Meeting of Sarasota Manatee and Charlotte County, Punta Gorda. It's called to order. First, let us stand and recite the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'll ask Mr. Hutchinson to confirm a quorum.
Yes, quorums are confirmed.
All right. One thing I would first like to say, just as kind of being the host here in Sarasota, Manatee County, MPO, is thank you to all of our partners from the south for coming up. I hope traffic wasn't too bad for you, a little bit later hour. And most of your transportation was through Sarasota County, so should have said that. That's where we go. So, but thank you for being here, and we'll obviously try to make this meeting as efficient as we can, keep things moving. The joint board meeting minutes from January 27, 2025 have been approved by each board, are included in this agenda. And then we'll turn it over to David.
Very good. The public comment mechanisms are shown on the screen. They've been advertised, and there are 4 ways. I don't know if we have any public comment cards. I'm not aware. We have one that you have, and the meeting is being live streamed and will be available on METV and the MPO YouTube page. And I would say that at this point, the speaker can be invited to speak.
Yes, I have one public comment by James Wiernick. Is that correct? It's Wernicke, okay. And so our public comment is 2 minutes. Please come forward, state your name, and you'll have 2 minutes.
My name is James Wernicke, and I live in both Charlotte County and Sarasota County. I'm in the process of moving up to Sarasota County. I'm also on the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee for Charlotte County, and I belong to 4 major bicycle clubs in the area. And my primary concern and reason for addressing you is, and I know you appreciate citizen input because I've sat at a bunch of these meetings before. The primary reason is because we need to have an interconnecting trail system between Charlotte and Sarasota County. And there are lots of proposals and things floating out there. And I want to encourage your support for these initiatives to tie in the Sun Trail funding with other funding that you might have within the counties so that we have a way to get bicycles back and forth, like me, from Sarasota down to Punta Gorda. And we're fairly along on the whole system, but we need to focus on connecting a few pieces, like on Winchester, where we're working on the River Road connection and then getting it through the big park down there. So that's primarily my interest, is to get bicycles onto their own trail system and off the roads, because there is a kind of a silent war going on between drivers and bicyclists. And I'd like to help mitigate that problem. So thank you for your time, and I appreciate everything you guys are doing.
Thank you, and I have no other comment cards. Is there anyone else? Seeing none. I'd just like to thank, and I'll speak for both boards, that thank you to all of our volunteers that serve on those CAC and TAC and the different boards. So I think, is there anyone else in the room that serves on either those? Please stand, and we'll just give you a little bit of applause. It's Charlotte County, Sarasota, Manatee. Mr. Landerfeld, stand up too. Well, so thank you from our county. So thank you for attending and what you do. Now we'll get a executive director's report. Why don't we start from our Sarasota or Charlotte, please? Yep.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mr. Chair. Lakshmi Gorda with Charlotte County, Punta Gorda MPO. I'll be brief in my comments, and I will turn it over to Dave Hutchinson here. As we all know, major transportation improvements in our long-range plan would take a decade or more to see, from PD&E to construction. With limited funding and growing project costs, coordination among regional partners is essential as we going to meet the needs for the growing people. Both MPO areas are experiencing unprecedented development. This growth brings increased congestion, higher rates of serious injuries and fatalities, and greater pressure on our existing transportation system. At the same time, revenues are declining and construction costs continue to rise. This makes regional collaboration more important than ever before. FDOT looks at these meetings as an opportunity to align our regional priorities and continue to implement the projects in our area. Both MPOs remain committed for Vision Zero, strengthening hurricane evacuation routes and advancing climate resilient infrastructure. By coordinating our safety and resiliency strategies, we can protect residents and improve the reliability of transportation system. Economically, our region is anchored by major freight mobility hubs, Port Manatee, and Enterprise Charlotte Airport Park. Punta Airport continues to see substantial growth in passenger traffic, reinforcing our role as a key multimodal gateway for both people and goods. And across District 1, all 4 MPOs unanimously supported a rail feasibility study to look into the rail feasibility in our area. Finally, the efficiency of our transportation system cannot be improved without embracing modern technology and artificial intelligence. We can optimize the technology to optimize signalized intersections or improve roadway resurfacing projects and make it more effective and enhance safety in our region. So thank you for your leadership and thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you. Mr. Hutchinson?
Thank you. I would echo Lax's comments. I've worked with him for a long time, and some of you as well. Back in 2004, I actually worked for FDOT District 1 and was sent up to the damaged EOC at your airport and helped with the FDOT efforts to support your response and recovery from Hurricane Charlie. And we've had many other storms since then. Ian comes to mind, which hurt us all. So that collaboration and the relationships that we build during the planning process can help pay off during challenging times as well. And I told my board a little bit earlier that funding challenges aren't going away; they're going to be here no matter what. And but funding for projects follows plans and comes from good plans in place. So now is the time to redouble our efforts on having good plans and getting ready for when money might fall from the sky, is the way we would say it. It's a technical term, but actually, when I worked in a snow belt area, that's what they called the overtime that people got from driving snow plows. They called that money falling from the sky, but we call it money for capacity projects and shovel-ready projects. So I wanted to take a minute, since this is my last meeting as MPO director, to introduce my successor, Ryan Brown, who will be your contact with the MPO going forward. And this relationship was first formalized during the Transportation Regional Incentive Program process, where they said, well, you need to have a partnership to jointly agree on projects that are regionally significant that can be eligible for this pot of state money that was set aside. And I think that, there was coordination and collaboration even before that, but that helped formalize it. So these once-a-year meetings have been good. And we've had some task force and efforts related to potential interchanges in the Northport area that would help serve Charlotte County. And that's all progressing. Those are on our agenda today. So over the years, it's been a great experience to work with your commission at these meetings and at the Metropolitan Planning Organization statewide association meetings, and appreciate the opportunity to introduce you to Ryan Brown.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Dave. And I know our board, we've had a lot of great conversations, and I look forward to working with not only my board, but our regional partners as well, not just to the south. We're a growing area, part of Tampa Bay. We've worked closely with our partners to the north as well. It's really important to us to think of ourselves as a mega region, as a region that has significant economic impact to the state of Florida. And that's where we can test out, as Dave said, anything from capacity to technology to safety. We're a playing ground for a lot of these larger corporate entities as well as the state to test out some of these successful measures. So we look forward to working with you all on making some of these things come true and making sure that we're continually advancing, dealing with significant capacity issues, and dealing with funding challenges. So we're happy to work with you. Thank you.
Yep, I think the chair has a question for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'm assuming you're going to have a bump in pay, so we'll be seeing socks at the next meeting?
I can't make any promises. I know the chair likes to talk about my socks, but it's Florida after all. It's a huge stretch to talk about socks.
You get a pass. At least it's not flip-flops.
No.
That's a good thing.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, yes.
If I could, appreciate your comments and look forward to working with you. Mr. Hutchinson, it's been a real honor and privilege to work with you through the years. Have you been back to the EOC?
Oh, yes, actually.
Big difference, huh?
Big difference.
Yeah. I think what's really defined this meeting and our relationship is the regional cooperation. And you really highlighted it. You've had probably 3 or 4 partners on the other side. We've gone through some changes over the years, but at every step of the way, you've been very inviting. These boards have worked extremely well together, understanding the mission, and the state understands regionalization. So when we talk about projects, whether it's beach renourishment or transportation infrastructure, they light up because they're like, wow, we're going to actually get more stuff done, and it makes sense, and we can combine budgets, and there's a real efficiency in doing that. And so we took it upon ourselves before the state realized this is a strategy. So I think that really bodes well for us. But it's been a real great pleasure to work with you over the years, and we're going to miss you. Thank you for finding somebody to fill your shoes. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Chair Constance.
All right, moving on, we'll have our director, Wayne Gaither from DOT.
Good morning, Chair, Board. I just have some brief comments to make. First, Secretary Driggers offers his apologies for not being able to make the meeting today. He got pulled away, as his position normally has him pulled in several different directions at any given time, and taking care of District 1 work program and working through session as well. One of the things that I did want to bring up, and I had the opportunity to discuss this a little bit earlier, was earmarks. It's a very similar topic that I brought up in prior years around this time. Local municipalities and counties often pursue earmarks in an attempt to promote projects within their area. One of the things I would like to bring to everyone's attention, though, is if you pursue an earmark and it is utilizing transportation trust funds, then you are in essence reprioritizing the list of priority projects that is provided to you or that you work on with your metropolitan planning organization. That puts those 2 projects in direct conflict with each other. If you can get the box checked for general revenue that does inject new funds into the program, and that does not come in conflict with the existing limited funds that we have under the Transportation Trust Fund. Good question that was brought up earlier was that this does not include federal funds if they are pursued. That's a completely separate entity and different funds that are brought into the area. The other comment I wanted to bring up was there's been some discussions at the MPO level that has to do with several policies that the department has been working towards. One of them is to work towards trying to put limitations on the PD&Es, which are the initial studies for a project development and environmental concerns. They look at the alternatives, they look at the options that could exist for a project as it moves through the process. We're trying to keep those limited in time frame. One of the things that we have seen is that at this phase, a lot of questions pop up, a lot of new ideas pop up after the scope has been prepared and the PD&E continues, which adds time and funds to the project. So a PD&E continues to roll farther and farther out in a timeline. In conjunction with that, the department is also looking at trying to have projects completed within an 8-year window. That follows the normal path of 2 years for each phase as we're continuing to work through a project. The intent of all these efforts is really to make it more efficient for the overall process of getting projects through completion for each of the metropolitan planning organizations that we work with in each of the communities that we work with as far as getting projects done. That concludes my comments. If there are any questions.
All right, any questions from Director Gaither? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to 5 regional discussion items, starting with long-range transportation plans coordination. So,
Lax can go ahead and start.
okay, if you want to start, Lax, then we'll
Yes,
go to
sir.
Ryan.
Yes, sir. I mean,
You can go.
proceed?
You can go. Or I can say a few things. I'll start with a model, and then you can add your parts and we'll go back.
Sure.
Yeah. So as you all know, we just adopted our long-range transportation plan in the last year. One major key element of that requires significant coordination, I mentioned, to the north and south as a District 1 regional planning model. So during the modeling process, we worked with Traffic-Day, a private contractor, as well as the state of Florida, to identify future demand, essentially, right? So a number of alternatives are run through all 6 different, with the feedback loop of basically what do we see based on improvement. If you widen XYZ road, Lorraine, 44th, for example, any of those roadways that we see need for capacity, we plug that into the model and see what the outcome shows us. So we run that alternative loop over and over, and we work with our partners to the south to coordinate things across county lines. So that's where the significance for this group and for us as MPOs is we want to make sure when we're investing in roadway capacity, intersection improvements across county lines, that we're doing and mirroring each other across that so it has a similar effect. Really, there's a number of major roads that come to mind, obviously, 41, Veterans, I-75 is quite clear. Those connections are necessary to be made and for future growth, as Lax pointed out in his earlier remarks. Unprecedented growth in the southern portions of our county, in Sarasota County, and as well as the northern parts of Charlotte County. It comes with a significant investment required, and as funds become tighter, it requires us to be more strategic and more pinpointed with our modeling efforts. You will see in our final alternative, we were down to just 3 major projects that we could afford in capacity terms, with a much larger number identified in earlier alternatives. So it was a conversation that we went back and forth with Charlotte County and which priorities we'd like to advance to being cost feasible, and that's something that we'll continue to model. Going forward, there'll be interim updates to this model, as well as some work that we're potentially going to bring on in-house, which is our own localized modeling for more specific issues that are not region-wide. So we look forward to continuing working with Lax and his team down there in Charlotte County on addressing future demand in our transportation system.
Yes, sir.
So just to add to what Ryan was saying, District 1 regional model includes 12 counties. Any volumes that are within the county are captured as internal volumes. So as Ryan was indicating, we kind of tested this model with various alternates. One of the alternate was to include US 17 in Charlotte County, and also State Road 776, which we have seen substantial growth in the area. So we tested various scenarios. As Ryan indicated, there were not more than 2 or 3 projects that we could able to build or widen capacity projects that we could able to widen in the next 25 years. Most of the dollars will be coming from the locals. So local impact fees or local development fees. So these fees, as you can say, the projects are limited. The road widening projects are limited. So we are looking into the alternative options of improving intersections to buy in some more time before we do an expensive road widening projects. So we continue to do this effort with our partners to the north and also to the south. We also do have one in the local agreement that we executed with our Heartland TPO to the east. So we have seen tremendous growth on the east of our Charlotte County as well, and we continue to grow, as Ron was indicating.
Yeah, sure. So if there's any.
We do have one quick question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I think I'm going to direct this to the directors, but also to the representative from FDOT. Where do we stand right now? You talked about additional federal dollars. We have a Floridian in the White House right now. We have, for the first time in 8 years or more, at least 4 years, a favorable ratio, because most of the raise grants that had been done before were going to the Northeast and the Rust Belt and all the places that were, heavily Democratic. And now this is the president's home state. I think we should be able to leverage more dollars federally. What grant programs are out there? What do we need to do to try to, call the right people and elevate our applications to the top of the stack, because it's all about relationships at this point.
Correct. And Dave, if you're good with me, I'll take a stab at it first and Lax. So Chair, Wayne Gaither, Florida Department of Transportation. Right now, we are running off of the same transportation bill that we had before from the prior administration, where we were looking at discretionary grants. There is a very good chance that we are going to be looking at a continuation of that bill. Basically, that means it would be business as usual, business from prior years in place. I do know that the Florida Department of Transportation has taken a very active stance in stating that we are not in favor of discretionary grants per se. Those are grants that you end up having to go after as in competition. You're basically submitting an application. It's not formula driven. We would prefer having formula driven grants that will allow us to meet the metrics that we have in place to go forward. We are continuing those efforts at the state level. We have had our state secretary making multiple speaking engagements specific towards this topic and pushing for formula-driven funding criteria as opposed to discretionary grant. Continuing to have conversations at the federal level with your state representative or with your federal representatives would obviously be a good first step.
If I can, Mr. Chair, follow up. Maybe there's maybe we can go over at our next meeting, and you're welcome to do it with Sarasota Manatee. But, let's talk under the FDOT agenda about a strategy, about, what would be the best approach? Because I think, locals tend to be able to have a bit of a voice. We share a constituency with our representatives and our senators, and we definitely have relationships with their staff, and we know the staff does a lot of the pushing and pulling up in Washington. But I think that we need to continue to push hard, because if the phone keeps ringing, they tend to help you because they don't want the phone to ring anymore. We're the squeaky wheel. But we have the one thing that makes a lot of sense. We have tremendous growth right now. We have a real need for doing this, and we have a dearth of funds to do it. So we are either going to be in big trouble, or they're going to help us out because they realize that this is important to promote the economy of the state they represent. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Ryan?
Sure. Absolutely. So I think, Lax, do you want to actually cover this one first? I know you've made significant changes, and then I'll add our perspective as well on the interchange.
So this is a nice segue to get into the 2050 LRTP. The first step, as we talked about, the District 1 regional model is the first step to identify those network that is deficient, right? So in our 2050 long-range transportation plan, just for Charlotte County, we kind of identified $2.3 billion of roadway improvements that we see need to be improved by 2050. Actually, we know a majority of the high priority projects are on SIS facilities, for example, I-75, US 17, and one of the state roads, US 41. That's where we see most of the fatalities and injuries happen. So we try to focus on those state roadways. SR 776, State Road 776, it goes across 2 county lines, and we are trying to make sure those roadway needs are addressed first before we get into the high capacity projects. As we know, any capacity improvement projects would take a substantial amount to fund from a 4-laning or to improve it from 4-laning to 6-laning. So we do have in our LRTP, we do have close to $938 million of unfunded needs just to make the improvements on our facilities. So as I said, majority of the facilities are on state roadways, US highways. That's where we see tremendous amount of incidents or fatalities. So we're trying to make sure that we address those intersections before we get into the capacity needs of the project. So one of the projects that we identified in our long-range plan, and we try to work with our partners to the north, is Yorkshire and Raintree interchange. That is part of our long-range plan. Again, there's no, we haven't seen any momentum for the last several years. We continue to show the projects that are in the white paper that Sarasota Manatee MPO completed in 2022. So we try to show the regional projects as we continue to progress towards our next LRTP update, we continue to do the coordination as we're required to do by both MPOs.
Yeah, and I would add, we've had lots of conversations on the topic, and I know we've had partners from Northport aren't here today, but I will add that we've had conversations with them about, the inherent demand needed to justify an interchange along I-75, right? There's a lot that goes into it. IJRs or interchange justification reports are a significant undertaking. They also could limit your ability to go after funding for quite some time if it does not meet justification. So we've had good conversations with Lex and his team, Charlotte County, and ultimately, we have it in ours as a kind of an unfunded, partially funded need for a planning effort. So we want to look and evaluate on an ongoing basis. Ultimately, there needs to be improvements to the surrounding network, as Lax pointed out, improvements to veterans, to Winchester, to 41, all needed in order to justify an additional interchange so close to the south. I also had conversations with Wayne, and I think for Charlotte County to, potentially, we've had a number of great successes with interchanges throughout our region. 9 of them have been either evaluated, improved, or replaced. I think that's something that we could look at in terms of Kings Highway. And our MPO, I think, certainly would support, improvements to Kings Highway. Maybe that's a collector distributor just to the north without looking at an entirely new interchange. There's lots of conversations, I think, that can take place to help address some of that demand and the LOS concerns at Kings Highway. We'll make sure that they're covered on our end in our long-range planning efforts, and then certainly support Charlotte County-Punta Gorda MPO on any decisions to further invest in that interchange.
So just to add to what Ryan was saying, we in our 2050 long-range plan, we kind of continue to support what City of Northport show for the Yorkshire Raintree interchange. That is a logical next exit for, if you look at FHWA guidelines, that's a logical step. We're also looking at Kings Highway and connecting Veterans Boulevard. We wanted to make sure we have options open. So whenever the funding falls from sky, as Dave was saying, we could able to pick back those funds and make sure that we can address those needs. Right now, Kings Highway, as we experienced, they've been severe congestion at that intersection on the local roads, but we wanted to look at overall operational evaluation, and which is program funded in 2031, 2040. So we are still working with our local staff to make sure that we continue to support these projects on both ends, both Yorkshire and Kings Highway, as we progress towards our growth.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so the item that you furnished for us came with a diagram, which I think is very, very helpful. And there's obviously, the backup material shows a lot of development within that corridor. And I want to bring up, this is something that I think we brought forward something like 8 or 10 years ago, and we appreciate it was well received by not only this MPO and Sarasota County and the city of Northport. So we have good support. That's a good thing. I was kind of surprised about 4 years ago at this meeting, I think it was up in Bradenton, where Port Manatee put on a presentation, and there's the extension of Raintree going toward Kings Highway further up as a commerce pipeline. So this certainly got on everybody else's radar. So I think we have opportunity, and maybe it's something that the state realizes needs additional monies outside of our work programs. Maybe it's something that we can get the federal government to look into, but I'm glad that we're still discussing it, because it's not going to happen overnight. But really, I agree, it really needs to happen there, because having it happen in Charlotte County is not going to help the regional issue. It's a regional problem, and we've got to work together. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, I guess we can jump into River Road, and I know we've got a lot of as well. We've got others that can certainly provide perspectives on this. I know there was significant concern about the southern portion, and I can report that the county's made great progress, I would say, within the last year. A lot has moved forward, a lot of great progress to the north. So from 75 to 41, I know, under construction, in making great progress. South is, I think, was more of the heart of the discussion at last year's meeting, and ultimately, a lot of money from lots of different sources, resilient SRQ, HUD money, state money, more federal dollars are all being put towards that effort on the South River Road. I think it's nearing $80 million for that portion, broken into two segments primarily, from US 41 down to Winchester and then Winchester to County Line. So from our perspective, it's really grateful from the MPO's approach to see the amount of investment that Sarasota County is putting into this project. I know it's of great concern to our partners in Charlotte County as well. And the growing number of developments and demand just in that immediate area, we're certainly looking forward to seeing capacity added to an area that certainly needs it.
So we do not have, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. I was going to say, any questions yet? Are you?
We do not have anything to add to this project, but we're happy to see the growth happening, the widening portions happening on Winchester Boulevard. As we know, our board members will love to talk about spending our own tax dollars on Winchester Boulevard back when we have widened it in 2005. So we're happy to see that, development to see the project on the paper finally. Thank you.
I'll just make a comment. I think some things we've heard today, when you talk about regional planning projects, and you look at, Commissioner Sadiq could talk to this a little bit more, I think he's left with Manatee County, but when you look at a roadway that you think, well, what's it matter down in Punta Gorda, Charlotte County to Manatee County? Well, it matters hugely when we have a seaport that can get transportation, get commerce there, get it, and if the roadway is correct, it can be a huge benefit to all of us, and we don't have to hear about, oh, the roads are all blocked up. So that's one of the things that I think that when you look at Manatee, Sarasota, Charlotte, Punta Gorda, different areas, regionally working together is a superpower that if we don't try to push while pushing who's in the White House with funding, we know if you don't ask, you don't get. So what are we going to do to make that? Yes, ma'am.
I'm just going to make a comment related to the statements about that now that we have a president in the White House who is from Florida, that all of the funding for transportation went to the Northeast states. And that's absolutely not true. The bipartisan infrastructure bill, the top 5 states who received funding were California, Texas, not a Democratic state, New York, Florida, and Illinois. So I just wanted to correct those misstatements about Florida not getting funding.
All right, anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Chair. If I could just elaborate just a little bit on the regional importancy. I think we talk about how significant traffic is on I-75. Anytime we can get those alternate connector roads free and flowing and get anybody we can off I-75, it is so critical. And so when we talk about River Road and when we talk about Lorraine Road and all the different ones that we have, it's so critical that some of the smaller pieces that we're trying to put together, like the 1.7 section here, or the 3 miles here, or the 2 miles here, when we are focusing and honing in on those, the connectivity from north to south and south to north, especially during heavy season times, allows for our citizens to have a better quality of life. And so I think it's so critical that we continue to have these priorities and continue to dig deep when it comes to the asks, and to make sure that, I always say, sit at the adult table and ask often. So I think it's so important for us to continue to do that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Hutchinson.
I would want to echo Commissioner Constance's recognition of that linkage between the Raintree Yorkshire area, which is, slated to become much more developed over the next few years. And if they are able to connect to the east without impacting, conservation and environmentally sensitive lands up to Kings Highway, that would be crucial to a future interchange in that area, and also might relieve Kings Highway. And going back to the reauthorization, the current funding does expire at the end of September, and Wayne said it's likely that there will be, I wouldn't say kick the can down the road, but some continuations or continuing resolutions to extend or continue that funding in the meantime. But as we work on the next reauthorization, shifting some of the current infrastructure funding from the discretionary programs to the formula programs would be one of the simplest, easiest ways to increase transportation funding and project delivery, because the process for developing the rules related to those new grants, it took several years to get some of those before they were actually getting the grants out there. And that has been a big challenge. So the formula programs are already in place. That's what FDOT works on all day, every day for the federal money. So that's one thing. And ultimately, changing the federal formulas so that they recognize more recent census data, because Florida has been a very, very high growth state. The base year for the current formulas are all 2009, which was based on the 2000 census. Florida's population growth is up around 40% since 2000. And the formula funds have not grown at that rate. You know, the distribution was meant to keep it even so that nobody lost money and we didn't gain what we would have gained had they redistributed funds. Now, the new money, you know, we did get more money, but it didn't begin to keep up with our growth. And that's federal share. I think it's still around 30% of the state transportation budget is coming from federal sources. It's very important for our local programs because those federal funds are some of the only funds that can go on non-state roads in many cases, not all cases. State safety projects can receive funds, but a lot of, you know, those federal funds are very valuable in our regional priorities. So, you know, the policy issues are important, and now is a chance to try to make some of those points. We're kind of we've been on the losing side. I think Texas is one of the only other states that's had the type of growth that Florida has had, that wants to really push hard for, you know, updating the formulas to use more recent census data. A lot of the states, you know, the Michigans and the New Yorks and even Californias, they're kind of even. They don't want to update those formulas, and they have, you know, good representation in those committees in Congress. So, but it's important to say it. We used to talk about the return on investment in the gas tax, and since they started putting in general fund money to backfill, you know, the highway trust fund, that has been less of an argument. But the use of more recent census data is still a valid argument that we can make when we're having those conversations with congressional representatives.
Thank you. Are we ready to move on? All right, let's move on to regional trails. Who's coming up for that? Ned, Nina?
So we got a presentation from Wolcott, Mr. Ed Bauer. We reached out to him to kind of have a presentation to this board so you can see the economic benefits of trails. So with that, Ned.
Thank you, Ned. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board, staff. Yeah, I'm going to kick off this part of the presentation about trails, and speaking of economic investment, that's what I was asked to describe, a recent DOT study that concluded last year. And I'm going to get right into this. As Lax mentioned, I'm Ned Byer. I'm a certified planner and director of planning for Volkert. I'm also president of the Florida Greenways and Trails Foundation. I'm going to start, you know, you're all familiar with the Sun Trail program. It's a 5,000-mile aspirational network. Almost over 1,500 miles are completed on the ground. Another 1,000 miles of the Sun Trail network is programmed in the DOT work program, either planning, design, or construction funds. So a lot of momentum with the Sun Trail program. Senate Bill 106 2 years ago actually expanded funding and some of the other responsibilities of DOT and other state agencies in implementing Sun Trail. I'm going to speak to the impact of trails and greenways on trail towns. I've got another slide coming up. Here's the system. You probably have seen this map at various presentations. You're part of the Gulf Coast Trail, which is from the Tampa Bay region down to Naples and Collier County. So this is a DOT-funded and managed study that was completed last year, over 18-month period. The Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council was actually part of the management team that implemented this study, and it specifically was asking the question, what is the economic return on greenways and trails? And it looked at specific segments of the Sun Trail network and trail towns in the state of Florida. These were the study locations. All of these communities have, they're all designated trail towns by the State Department of Environmental Protection. There's 23 trail towns around the state. You recognize some of these projects like the Pinellas Trail, for example. There were 5 study segments. Mentioned the trail town emphasis. So the study looked specifically at visitor data, property values, construction costs, and economic variables. This is an important slide because it looked at these variables of user expenditures. These are people using the trail, either residents or visitors. They go to a restaurant, they spend dollars, they stay at a motel, they spend dollars, et cetera, trail construction costs, and looked at property values. And that's something that's always asked, as you know, as you talk about trails and the impact on the community. This is an important slide. So these were the results of that analysis. And the study only looked at 1% of the Sun Trail network, right? So it was a pretty small sample size. But even in that 1% of those 5 trail towns, $30 million in annual GDP increase, $22 million in personal income, and more than 300 jobs per year. And then overall spending here, estimated that 1% of the networks, there's documentation of over $8 million annually in expenditures and more than 125 million increase in property value increases. And again, those are just in those 5 segments analyzed. So broken down just really quickly, these were the segments that were analyzed. You all know Gainesville. You can see some of the increases there. This is the Greenway and Trail in Homestead. You can see in the bottom right-hand corner, you see some of the statistics. This is in Tallahassee, the Cascades Trail. East Central Regional Rail Trail in Titusville. Again, users, expenditures, county GDP, property value increase. And this is in Dunedin, which is a little bit closer to home on the West Coast. You all know about the Pinellas Trail and then the total trail users. You see the total expenditures, and it specifically looked in Pinellas County, the area around Dunedin, which is a designated trail town. You can see the impact on property values. And by the way, this gets into usage. This is the recent usage for Pinellas County, the Pinellas Trail. You can see over 2 million users per year. So really significant. So the overall findings, Florida trails are economic engines, substantial annual leads. Older trails and trail towns, more users, and more yield. I think the trail town experience, if you look at the urban area, small town environment like a Dunedin, where you can see firsthand visually the impact of restaurants, the impact of a lot of people there, walking, biking safely, using facilities. Most trail users are local residents. So I think the state of Florida wants both. The Sun Trail program also does have those long distance cyclists that go hundreds of miles. That's part of the user experience and part of tourism now. The state of Florida is pushing that message, but in fact, a lot of the use is from local users. And we need more trail counters to document usage. And that's something that the MPOs and TPOs statewide are listening, working with DOT. There's a lot of counters now on trail segments to get that documentation, because that's really important, because as an elected official, what do you often hear before a trail is built? Well, no one's going to use it. And so there's lots of documentation that trails are being used. So just recommendations. Number 2, I think significant, need a larger study sample. So I think DOT is working on a larger statewide study that goes beyond the trail towns. We'll examine some of the more rural segments of trails and greenways around the state. Consider other variables: health, transportation, quality of life, safety. This study that I just briefly talked about didn't really look at safety, like preventing injuries, which is really important. So I'm going to leave with that. If I may, just real quickly, this is a really important topic, so I'm going to wear my other hat real quick. The Greenways and Trails Foundation is sponsoring a 2-day workshop, actually conference, in Venice, Florida, right down the road, November 9th and 10th. And this topic is going to be one of the big points. One of the themes of our Greenways and Trails conference will be about economic development, tourism, factors that we think are being asked by the public that you deal with. And I know the state legislators are asking that question now about the Sun Trail program, because it's been in existence, over 10 years now. And there's, a lot of success, a lot of proven success. Well, we need to document this. So that's what we've started doing. So with that, unless the MPO staff has any other comments or
questions by the board?
Yes, sir. Yes, quick question. Did you say November 9th and 10th?
Yes.
Okay.
In Venice at the community center.
Gotcha. So you're saying 80 to 90% of the trail users are local?
In these 5 communities, yeah.
Well, I would say that probably extrapolates to most places. If it's happening in 5, it's probably happening in most of them. So of the local users, how many of those long distance people and how many of those just kind of folks using short, go to a restaurant, that kind of thing? Do we have that data?
There is that data available, and I can get that in the report. I couldn't describe that to you.
No problem.
Today,
And
yeah.
I'm just food for thought.
Yeah.
And the other question I have is, in Punta Gorda, we have a free bicycle rental. You go in, hand them your driver's license, you get a helmet,
Yeah.
and they unlock the bike for you, and you travel it around. How many of those pilot programs are around? Because that's the tourism part of this. Yes, local residents are using it, but people visiting, local residents, or just folks visiting, that's probably a more important economic driver of if you have locations where your local tourism economy or your local small business community sees the value of having, every hotel has 6 bikes.
Yeah.
And we have that. It's amazingly successful in Punta Gorda. How many of those are happening around the state? And if it's successful, what's being done to promote that? Because that's going to help with usage.
I mean, there's literally dozens of examples around the state of Florida in what you just described in other communities. And I will say, the state tourism department, I think it's Visit Florida. I know that they are both with their marketing budget, both in magazines and other venues. They're really promoting the whole local trails, state trails in their budgets. So I know it's started, and a lot of communities that have embraced trails, Sarasota Manatee is a great example here with the Legacy Trail. City of Venice, they're marketing the Legacy Trail, for example. I know Pinellas County does a lot of that within their parks promotion. It's really a focal point of what they're doing. And a lot of my recent work has been in Lee County on some Sun Trail feasibility studies, but I know a lot of activity right now by both the county, the Metropolitan Planning Organization to document exactly trail experiences and trail use, not just on the Sun Trail network, but the local trail network, which is part of the same system.
Mr. Hutchins?
Very briefly, I've got 2 points that are relevant before you get where we're at on some of our local projects. First is, there's a long-standing recognition that trails and bicycle and pedestrian transportation infrastructure improvements serve, the national interests and state interests, and as well as our local interests. They're not just for recreation. They're not just a local project, even though most of the users are local, but they support safety and mobility and economic development, as we heard. And Ned's a nationally recognized expert on this, and he's worked really hard around the state. But he mentioned this feasibility study, and so when it comes to, as you're dealing with the national reps, they need to know that trails are part of our transportation strategy, and it's not just, we shouldn't only be investing in hard infrastructure like bridges, but trails are still important. SunTrail was originally going to fund construction-ready projects that our local jurisdictions and MPOs got ready, and now they've started funding, $20 million PD&Es on these, long-term in the future segments that kind of got away from the original intent of the program. And we have in our area a lot of shovel-ready segments ready to build. Palmetto is getting close now. Certainly Sarasota County and Manatee County have segments ready to go. And so we would like you to let your state representatives know that FDOT should focus on funding construction-ready projects as much as possible. They say they want to quit funding PD&Es. They should make sure that applies to SunTrail as well.
And you said that when Wayne was out of the room.
Of course, but he's heard me say it.
All right, we're gonna have Nina come up. You got anything on
Thank
this
you very
part?
much.
Yep, thank you.
June,
I think actually.
Oh, yeah,
I have a
sorry.
question, about
Another
the
quick
trails.
question maybe for Ned? Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Yeah, and I think trails are a great thing. I'm a big proponent of them, but what the arguments that we seem to get from homeowners, that if a trail's going to go by their property, they say it's not safe, so they're worried about the safety issue, the lack of privacy. Is there any data or things that we can use to counter those arguments?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there is, not this study, but there is. And I can just tell you anecdotally. I think my experience, because I was working for Pinellas County for a long time during the development of the Pinellas Trail, when the commitment to make it more like a linear park with operation and maintenance, like a county park facility or municipal park facility, a lot of those fears go away, because would you rather have an abandoned rail line or something that's more like a park? It won't convince everyone, but I think most of the experience is really positive.
Yeah.
And that's why these segments like the Pinellas Trail, the original segment was 5 miles long, and then it opened up, and then it just, now it's over 70 miles long. So people see the experience and they want it extended to their backyards.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just gonna make a comment to that, because we had just done something in the city of Bradenton where we're configuring some streets and some infrastructure and stuff. So we put the trail on the street, we put the bike paths on the street. Well, it's only a very short, and everybody said how foolish we were to do that, because why aren't we, and then it did take away the parking in front of their house. By school, it wasn't safe, different things. But if you don't plan that section now, and you do all of that infrastructure change, then when you start to get the other connections, but there's no way that that's ever, with our grid in the city of Bradenton being a 123-year-old city and smaller streets, and we're gonna make it a park system, but we're trying to connect certain areas so it does come down, gets over through Palmetto, comes over the DeSoto or Green Bridge, then connects to some of our streets to get us out to the island. But it's not gonna no way be a park because it's on a roadway. But you're getting pushback from the homeowners because it's taken away the front of their houses in the street. So that's gonna be a challenge that we have to work with. Commissioner Sadiq.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. At least in Manatee County, we obviously have our own adopted alignment. We have quite a few projects. So I'll echo some of the things you say, and perhaps for other commissioners too. the Manatee County Trail System's been a plan since the 90s. There's one employee who's been around for that long. And what we've found with redevelopment efforts along urban corridors like 41, along Manatee, at State Road 64 West, State Road 70, some other portions, is that you just can't widen those roads anymore. It's possible, yes, 0.0001% chance, because the reality is you're taking someone's whole house. And so, and not to mention the costs associated plus utilities and more. So what we're finding is that the trail is really, not having a trail, an urban trail, is really a barrier to redevelopment, because you have to make up for the impact, the transportation impact somewhere, and you just can't do that with an additional widening of the road. Like your LOS, level of service, is going to be what it is. So some other members of the board, perhaps the public, that's what we're finding is developers are saying, no, I'm good, because you don't have a trail or a plan for it. Same for bus, but that's another thing. So we're finding, and that's the case. And then National Association of Realtors also said that if you have a trail within the vicinity of your home, you can expect to see an increase in property values between 2 to 15%. So we're starting to see it as less of a, at least in the urban side of the county, less of a, hey, it's a fun thing to do, more of a, it's an economic necessity for redevelopment. And last but not least, the market's already embraced it. We're already seeing master plan projects. North River Ranch and Parish, for example, already build trails in their own projects. So they're already moving ahead without us anyways, which just showcases certainly the recreational value, but the value to transportation it brings as well. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
That's a great comment about the private development. I mean, it seems like trails and greenways have become the golf courses of 20, 30 years ago in developments. And that's a big selling point today, is the walkability and the safety part. And the thing about trails and greenways that you don't get on the roadway system, all ages and abilities. And that's what you're trying to design in that work of walking and biking.
Thank you. All right, Nina?
I think I will go first, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. That was a great presentation by Ned Bauer, and I believe we are kind of trying to move in the right direction. To answer, to point out some of the things that you brought up, Southwest Florida, starting from Tampa Bay all the way down to Naples, we fall under Florida Gulf Coast Trail. Florida Gulf Coast Trail is a 420-mile corridor, and they are mostly in urban sections of the Southwest Florida. So here, the map that you see here is specifically to Charlotte County. Staff did have an opportunity to reach out to the Florida Gulf Coast Trail members back in Tallahassee in December. And this is the latest update that you see on the map. We kind of realigned some sections of the trails in South County along US 41, going south to Burnstow Road. That is the latest alignment that we kind of approved by the Florida Gulf Coast Trail Council. So next slide, please. So on the next slide, you see the projects that are in our county. The top 3 projects are on state roads, 776 and US 41. So 3 projects are in design as we speak. So the next step is construction. As Dave was pointing out, we need money for those projects. We are close to kind of shovel ready. The top 3 projects, we are looking close to $30 million. We are also following closely the state governor's budget for 26 and 27. We know there's close to $65 million allocated to Sun Trails. So we're trying to stay on the top of it. The next 2 projects are in US 41. These are funded through multiple sources, transportation alternatives and Sun Trails. So we are they are in the construction phase as we speak. Again, these are not the Sun Trail standards. One thing we want to understand is these 2 projects are not in Sun Trail standards. They are 10 feet asphalt. The Sun Trail standard is 12 feet. 10 feet concrete, but Sun Trail section is 12 feet asphalt is Sun Trail standard. So next slide, please. So on the next slide, you see the same projects that are programmed in the current work program. So the cost for the number one project is the design, which is close to $928,000. This is a project that we are kind of closely working with our counterparts to the north, with Nina and her group, to make sure that we have this trailhead right close to the Mayak Forest, where we join with our Sarasota County partners. That's where we are working on. The next project is on 776. It's a 11-mile section. The design for this project is $2.5 million. Construction, as we believe, is $21 million just to do a central segment. The third project is Alligator Creek. This is in South County. That is in design as well. So those are the three projects that we have in our program right now. So with that, Nina?
Can I
Yes.
ask a quick question?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the item, if you can go back 2 slides, maybe? Sure. Yeah, so you have an unfunded gap in South Punta Gorda Heights, but when I look on the map, that includes Phase 2 and Phase 3 of Burnt Store Road, which we have a sidewalk. So is that, are we looking for something else?
So the gap is, as I indicated, central section is a central corridor is a 12 feet asphalt. Right now, we do have 8 feet on either side of Burnt Store Road. The middle section that you see, east and west, is a new Tucker's Grade extension. That is the gap that we have. And
Right,
so
but the southern portion is not. Like the vertical line at the bottom right of the corner should not be red. Isn't that correct?
So the goal is to have, as indicated, the goal is to have 12 feet asphalt. Right now, on that section of the roadway, it is 6 feet on either side.
6 feet
That's
concrete.
substandard for a central, but, you know, we are working with the county staff to see if they are agreeable to have that 6 feet asphalt on that section. The modification to that can be done in but administrative modification can be done with the centrals, but the goal is to have the 12 feet asphalt. That's a standard for the central section.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. And moving northward, I'll give us a quick update on what we have in the draft tentative work program for Sarasota and Manatee counties on the Gold Coast Trail. The map here on the screen shows you projects that have some current activity, or in the case of the Clark and Bee Ridge overpasses, which were just recently completed. So a definite win for trails in our region and for safety. So I'll go through these. On the list here, these are the projects that have some funding lined up in the draft tentative work program and that we're hoping to see continued and to be adopted board program in July. I kind of go through it this way. Those first 3 projects, these 3 alignments are straight out of the MPO Suntrail Alignment Study that the Sarasota Manatee MPO Board adopted back in May 2023. Since then, we have seen a considerable amount of local activity to move some of these segments forward. And it's great to see that now we have these projects programmed for construction in 2 of the cases, and then for a PD&E up in Manatee County from the alignment from 75th at 64 into downtown Bradenton. So you can see that those 3 projects are funded by federal MPO dollars. The last project on that list is the Palmetto Trails Network PD&E. This is a federal earmark that is currently in the draft tentative work program. FDOT has been working on the Palmetto Trails Network PD&E for several years. So this is another step forward for working on those trail alignment segments in Palmetto, and then that will kind of connect to the Lincoln Park all the way up into Paris, which is an important connection northward into Hillsborough County. And then we also have some additional funding, federal earmarks and state funding for the Gateway Greenway, more in northeast Manatee County, and then Lincoln Park Gateway Greenway as well. Additional trail projects that are not necessarily in the draft tentative work program, but that are more local activities are the Benever Road connection from the Legacy Trail at Benever Road to Fruitville Road. This is also a connection that came out of the MPO Suntrail Alignment Study. This is something that the county had been working on a design, and then in partnership with Trust for Public Land is able to break ground on construction of a 10-foot path connecting Legacy Trail at Beneva to Fruitville Road, where that will meet the Circus Trail extension into Bobby Jones. And if you look at the map, we'll see that kind of north where the Sarasota County line meets Manatee County, that creates a fairly seamless connection from Legacy Trail, where you can take it from Venice to Beneva Road, and in the future take that to the Circus Trail extension. They'll be able to hop on the 17th Street Trail over to Nathan Benderson Park, and then when the North Sarasota Multimodal Connector is built, you'll be able to go all the way east of I-75 and north into Manatee County. The county is also working on design of Beneva Road and Bahia Vista overpasses for the Legacy Trail. In Northport, there's a design of the War Mineral Springs connector. And then of course, South River Road as a very important north-south connector where we can meet Charlotte County to our south, and then also have an important connection through the Mayaca Forest as well. So those are kind of happening at the local level. Here is that map, just one more time, of everything that we have going on in our region. I do have a video lined up, but I'm gonna look at our chairs to see, do we have time? Okay, so we're gonna go right past that. I will point you over to our YouTube page where you can take a look at some of our Destination Zero safety efforts. We do have a trail safety and etiquette video out as well. So we just wanted to give you a sneak peek next time. Thank you. Any questions?
Great. Moving on, Brian and Max, regional.
Go ahead, I'll follow up.
Sure.
Yes, sir. This is our regional transportation regional incentive program projects. As we know, we come up with a list of, based on our interlocal agreements, the Charlotte County, Sarasota County, and Manatee County do get fair share, which is 33.33% every year. So far, Sarasota County has, Charlotte County has been still on the top, and Sarasota County with 35% and Manatee County with 19%. Keeping that in mind, I believe the rotation, the way the projects have to be is like Sarasota County goes on the top, Charlotte County is next, and Manatee County will be the third, and the cycle continues to go as we see the trip dollars coming into the three counties. The goal is to have an equity check for all the trip projects that we received. One thing that we added to the spreadsheet, which is forwarded to our board members, includes that color copy that I was supplying. So that includes the TWRW projects that were added to the list. With that, I think Charlotte County is still on the top with $23 million that we received since 2006. So.
Yeah, and I would just add, just more anecdotally to, it's only $7 or $8 million a year in the district for trip funding. So I wouldn't say, the funding source, it's legislative in nature from the state of Florida. It's been reduced over time. It's something that has to be split by the 12 counties in District 1. You're only talking $7, $8 million a year. There's not a huge share of that. We're happy to continue rotating priorities with Charlotte County as well as we have a list with Polk County to the north. For us, we're going to continue to work on segmenting our projects a bit better. Some of those projects on there are far too large to accept $5 or $6, $7 million worth of trip funding. Massive requests in some cases that would require additional funding sources as well. So we'll continue to work on segmenting those. In some cases, those are there to represent and show that these are regionally significant projects, not truthfully looking to adhere to the trip funding rules. So I would say we're in support of doing that. Our board will see that list in May for adoption. We'll certainly take any comments you have on potential projects on that list as well.
So just one modification on Charlotte County side. As we know, number one project for us is always Harbor View Road. We are still trying to figure out the second segment of Harbor View Road, which is from Date Street to 75. We experienced substantial growth happening on the four quadrants of that Harbor View Road intersection. One change that we see on our list, we took out Kings Highway from Sandhill Boulevard to County Line. That project is being in the construction phase as we speak, and it's scheduled to finish by 2027. We replaced that with Tucker's Grade Extension. This is a brand-new roadway Charlotte County is looking into it. This is from Burns Road to US 41, connecting to Tucker's Grade and eventually to I-75. So that is the only change that you see on the attachment 1, which is number 8 project. So the rest remains status quo.
Mr. Hutchins.
I would add that, the MPO staff is working with our jurisdictions to try to break some of these very large requests into more fundable sized projects, where, that $7 or so, $8 million a year that FDOT has to distribute is actually going to be distributed to our area. I don't think they're going to fund, a $30 or $40 million project, and then the locals are going to have trouble. You're going to have trouble with $40 or million dollars of a match too in 1 year. So breaking them up and getting the timing right is all part of that deliverability analysis that we're looking at.
And if I may, just one last point on that. I know Lax and I have talked in the past as well with Wayne and maybe leadership at some point. We have a CUTS meeting, which is our urban transportation area that we meet as an entirety of District 1. And we've floated the concept of reevaluating trip distribution. We currently have joint lists with only 2 of the MPOs. I've questioned in the past, why would we not have joint lists with all of the MPOs in District 1? Or why would we not just have a single trip list in District 1 where we alternate priorities? So with that being said, ultimately, I'll be looking for support from our board as well as others to potentially reevaluate how we're addressing this. Ultimately, it is a discretionary program that the state can assign and fund these projects with. It's not something that, these are suggestions, right? Ultimately, the state decides where those funds go. So with that conversation in mind, potentially looking at a more unified singular list for the entirety of District 1. So that's my last comment. Thank you.
All right. I'm just going to make a comment that many years ago, probably almost 20 years ago, I was driving a travel trailer getting off of the interstate in South Carolina, going to Myrtle Beach, and get off a little 2-lane road off the interstate, and I'm driving the motorhome, and my daughter, who was 15, wanted to drive. Well, it's, on the interstate, you're not going to let a 15-year-old drive a motorhome. And so all of a sudden, about 10, 15 miles into the trip going to Myrtle Beach, we hit this big super highway. I was like, wow, this is kind of weird. You went 10, 15 miles, then all of a sudden there's 4 lanes, big, looked like an interstate. So she's like, Dad, this is good. There's no cars on it. Can I drive? So I, reluctantly said, okay, you can drive for a little bit. But we got about 10 miles and we hit a town, a little roundabout, and, Rachel, we got to stop. There was nowhere to stop. We switched over, go about another 10 miles on a little 2-lane highway, and then we hit another super highway, 10 miles. So I did some research, and, you could go into the politics of whatever we are, whoever we are, but Senator Byrd said he couldn't get the whole 70 miles from the interstate to Myrtle Beach. So he took it 10 miles at a time. Took him 25 years, and I haven't been on it since it was done. But that roadway got done because he died in 2010. But, going outside of politics, it doesn't matter. But he figured out how to get a bite at that apple, one little section at a time. And that's what we've heard from several of us today. How do we get that bite at that apple? And if we want to say we want the whole apple at once, we're not going to do it. So continue to work together and leverage timing. If we don't leverage timing in life, it's never going to happen. And I think that's what you see, a lot of different things going on. We can scream and yell and get nothing done, or we can leverage timing and work together. And I appreciate this board with our Sarasota MPO, with our partners to the south in Charlotte and Punta Gorda. What can we keep doing to leverage the time and take one bite at a time? So I think that's important to look at. Any other comments by the board? Anybody? Anything other than saying, David, thank you. It's been a good run, I think. Like I said, I was the only one up here with you the whole time on our board from the hiring on. She came on a little bit late, but right when you started. But I was there when we voted yes to hire you, and I would do it again 100 times. At that moment, I was new too. I didn't know what was happening. And I'm glad that you have trained a great staff. And obviously with Ryan coming in, we're the lucky ones. The if it gets cold or if he was up north, he would still have to have socks on probably. But we'll oversee that. He's never going to live that down because it's just fun with the part of it. And sometimes we have to make these things a little fun and not so serious. So appreciate it. Mr. Chair, you have anything else?
Again, echo those remarks, Mr. Hutchinson. Really appreciate your service. Public servants that are dedicated the way you are very hard to come by. So we appreciate all the years of experience and time. And I'll speak for my board and say that, we always enjoy meeting with you folks. Today was a little longer trip, but that's okay. It's always worth having this meeting because we got to see each other. We got to express our thoughts and get it on the record that we're actually meeting. We can do it through staff, but it doesn't have the impact of getting in the same room together and going over the topics and all agreeing on the strategy. So thank you very much, sir.
All right, we appreciate everybody and thank you for all being here. We'll be adjourned.
Thank you, METV.